fantastic. This is GT racing right now.
He's got traction, he's got with the outside, both of them! Maloney!
Oh, he's taken Anderson! Anderson's up top!
Oh my god! Oh! Big crash! Oh my goodness, half the field's gonna get rolled!
Six very close. These guys are going to want to make their way through the field very quickly. Oh, here we go! Oh no! That's massive! This is it! This is over! I can't believe this! Oh my god!
God, what?
What does it take to win? Is it something you're born with? Is it the grind? Every day. Gear up. Do battle. For the 10,000th time. Or is it pushing to your absolute limits? To be faster. Always faster. Insanely precise. Totally free and at one with the game. Or maybe it's just getting to that place where nothing else matters. Nothing in the way of winning.
Welcome one and welcome all to SimSpeed TV. It's time once again for a virtual racing school V8SCOPS weekend, which means it's Friday night. It's time for the Logitech G V8SCOPS Supports. Event 8 here at Sonoma Raceway. We're running the historic Cup layout here. A very short lap, which has plenty of corners around it and very low fuel burns. We've got 2 races coming up in the flat sixes. They'll be split by 2 races in the Jetta Cup as well. A full night of action here tonight. And to bring it to you all live on SimSpeed TV, on YouTube, Facebook and Twitch is myself, Reese Gardner, and Daniel Yeaman alongside me in the commentary box. Well, Dan, it's been a really good year so far for V8SCOPS Supports. We've had fantastic racing all through the year in all of our categories, and I'm looking forward to how these drivers are going to tackle Sonoma. It's a track that has been on the iRacing V8 schedule since pretty much the very beginning, and it's a track that's very familiar to a lot of drivers here in Australia. I'd say that it's quite similar in feel to a lot of the circuits that we race down here in Australia and New Zealand. It's very short, lots of elevation change, and you've got to be on your toes the whole way around.
I think that's a good way to describe it indeed, and thank you for the introduction there, and a welcome from myself to all of those joining us, whether it be here live on the streams, or whether it be with us on YouTube after the fact with the video on demand. So indeed, here is the Cup historic configuration at Sonoma Raceway, which we are using tonight. You can see here 12 corners to its name, and yeah, 3.2 kilometers in length for this circuit. So certainly a very familiar size for sort of Australian national level circuitry, and indeed I think plenty of flow and elevation change that is going to feel pretty much at home, despite being halfway around the world, at least virtually, from where we all are for the most part here tonight. So it should be a good test for all our cars. Of course, plenty of flow through both parts of the track. Then the short run across the top there, which has got some very big curbs to negotiate there. And then a solid hairpin down at the end of the lap to bring you back around to start it all over again.
Indeed, and that pit entry just by the hairpin that you can see down at the bottom right is certainly going to be a point of contention in the second race in the flat sixes tonight, which has a reverse grid and compulsory pit stop. You're going to have to be very careful to avoid the pit wall on the outside coming out of the penultimate corner. Here's the championship standings in the flat sixes after 7 events done so far. Cameron Dance leading the standings over Thomas Hinz. Simon Mazzomo still very much in contention there along with Daniel Cheney. Looks like pretty even gaps all up through the field, Dan, but rather close, especially at the front. So with still a few rounds of the flat sixes left to go, these could go either way.
Certainly will. I mean, it is important to note that we have had 7 events for all of the V8SCOPS support, or the V8SCOPS calendar supports included. But it is, like I said, I think a point to note is the Flat Sixes have not done 7 events just yet this year. They'll get to, I believe it's, if I remember the series correctly, it's 10 events for the Flat Sixes by season's end. I believe we're on event number 4 or maybe 5 for these guys here tonight specifically. So points are coming in thick and fast for these guys, and I guess though it is a good point to make that consistency is going to be key in this series, as it often is with these events hosted by Oceanic Sim Racing. And well, yes, it is good to see that we have plenty of drivers in the mix, and many of them here tonight to continue their run, and hopefully that will mean that we can continue to see some good form, but also a chance for some people to make their way up the standings with good results tonight. Over halfway done in qualifying already, Reese. 4 minutes and change on the clock, and well, after a strong performance into Lagos from Matt Bowler, he's up there, but he's been ousted for the time being. Hayden Sell, 95 Sim Sports entry, 897 machine, currently has the provisional pole to his name, but we'll check out here Damon Mulqueen, who you can see they're currently 3rd place and half a second back, looking to find a little bit more time at the end of this session here.
Yeah, a little bit wide in the penultimate corner, which messed up his run into the final hairpin here, which has a lot of curb and tarmac that you can use on the inside. Track limits are effectively defined by those tyre bundles on the inside of the corner. And a very short run to the start-finish line. You pretty much turn in for turn 1 as soon as you cross the line. That's a 1 minute 12.2 for Damon Mulqueen, and that will put him P3 for the time being. Not a bad run. If he can hook up that apex of the penultimate corner, he can certainly find some time. Hayden Sell, of course, as you mentioned, Dan, on provisional pole at the moment. He also topped the timesheets in practice by a 10th of a second or thereabouts. So he's looking pretty pacey tonight. But championship leader in the Flat Sixes, Cameron Dance, coming up to the end of his first hot lap now. And it seems like, oh, that's a mistake that he cannot afford to make. They got 3 minutes left in this session, and that's certainly not going to put Cameron Dance's session in good stead there. You did see, though, that he was going wide into the final hairpin to try and line up the run, get some extra speed across the start-finish line. What can Thomas Hinz do, meanwhile, coming up to this very challenging section of the track?
You can see all the way to the edge of the curb there on the way into turn number 11, and he actually opts to bring it down onto the pit lane, so that will be run aborted. Time just left in session to come in, reset, and prepare for one final fly here with these lap times in that 111, 112 bracket, as long as you're out of the box. Well, actually, you need to be out of the box. Yeah, got about a minute left to get going from the pits again if you want to take it easy on the outlap. Probably not cut it that close, though. And see, though, if anyone can keep pushing. So back to Cam Dance, still P13. Hasn't set PBs this time around, I don't think. So I think he's going to set up one more time. We'll cruise this one down to the line, and then we'll see if he tries again. Because I'm not seeing improvements on this one, but he looks to be pushing somewhat, despite my that statement I just made. Because, of course, nope, he's going to go deep once again. So, yeah, he's most certainly preparing for another setup here. So way out into the marbles, but straight in the exit through turn 11 there to slingshot for turn 12.
Car number 12, Matthew Bowler, who we mentioned had a really good run of form at Interlagos last time we were out in the Flat Sixes, making his way through the S's, which back when the track was first built was surrounded by hills. Of course, this track underwent numerous upgrades in the early 2000s, but didn't give him much runoff to work with, did they?
Yeah, constrained a little bit there by just the way things are, but that will see Matthew Bowler's session to an end here tonight, because that car is quite damaged and surely not able to perform at its peak, as he will have to carefully get that one out of the way. As Liam Hall here, number 49 for Purple Sector Sim Sports, brings his car down to the final hairpin. He is currently not setting any personal bests on this one, I don't think, but we'll see if he comes up to the line. Can he improve it on 113.3?
No.
Just outside, 2/10. He does have time for one more run if the car's got it in him, but we'll see what happens here. Cam Dance, can he finally move himself up the order like we would expect him to? Personal best sector 2 this time round, Reese, as he comes to the line. 1:11.978. That finally sends him up the order, and he jumps all the way up into second place provisionally, just in time for one more run if he so chooses. But I think he's... Oh, we are reminded. Sorry, it's hard cut. Apologies. Because it is a heat format, despite the fact that the races are spread out tonight. So, no, he gets the job done just in time here to go to P2, and that will be the end of qualifying there.
Indeed it will. Cameron Dance getting the lap in right at the end when it counted. So, here is the grid. 18 cars going to be taking the start, and they'll be led by Hayden Sell and Cameron Dance on the front row, Matthew Bowler and Damon Mulqueen on the second row. Thomas Hins and Simon Mazzomo will round out the top 6. Another good performance for Mazzomo there. Lachlan Capel is going to start in 7th place alongside Chris Coxhead. Then it's Benjamin Faulkner, Daniel Cheney and Brady Baldwin. 10th and 11th, with Robbie Bradbury rounding out the top 12. Taylor Oakes and Liam Hall are going to start 13th and 14th. Then it's Lindsay Hobbs and John Courtney sharing the 8th row. Anthony Green and Shane Best will round out our field. A spread of about 5 seconds, or 4 seconds rather, over the course of this field. And they're all jumping on the grid now for the race start. We do have one race control car in the session, which will come out if there is enough of an incident out there to warrant a safety car. Reminder of the format, we've got 25 laps per race here, but of course race 2, full reverse grid and compulsory pit stop. There's an out-and-out sprint for the first race here. The drivers are projected to use about 50 litres of fuel over the course of the race. There shouldn't be any need for a fuel stop.
There certainly won't be a need for a fuel stop. The cars tonight, given the ability to use all 110 litres of these Porsche's tanks. So, simply put, that given in race 1, you don't need to be stopping indeed. We'll see that pit stops later on tonight in race 2, as you mentioned earlier on, but given that the fuel and tyres in this car happen separate, you need to make sure that you're keeping those stops nice and short. So, make sure you've got that fuel on board from the get-go tonight. So, not long now until we get this one underway, Reese, and well, this would be a curious one to think. Hayden Sell clearly putting in some work tonight to get the Porsche hooked up around here tonight based on the practice and qualifying performance. Cameron Dancier took him till the dying seconds, but he gets it in just in time there to sort that one out. But what can the other guys here at the front of the field do? We get ready to take the green flag and this race, and we're underway here for race 1 of the flat sixes, and it's a bad start for Hayden Sell. Matt Bowl is going to go straight through the middle of the front row up to P1 before we get up the hill here for the first couple of turns.
Excellent start by Matthew Bowler. Unfortunately, Hayden Sell a little bit slow in the reaction time there as they make their way through the first couple of turns. Simon Mazzomo gets it done on Damon Mulqueen coming into turn 3, then up through turn 4 across the top of the hill, all the way down to the very hard right-hander through the NASCAR chute. Got to avoid the big curve on the inside, but the outside is fair game. Oh, Isaac Edwards going very far out into the runoff area as the field are single file now on their way coming into the S's. There's no potential for passing here, but you see that they are using the ever-loving something or other out of those curbs. Cameron Dance trying his best now to fend off Hayden Sell as they make their way into the penultimate corner. It looks like this is going to be a tough race for the top 3. They dance very late on the brakes to try and catch up to Matthew Bowler on their way into the hairpin, and they're being a little conservative with the amount of track they're using on the inside there to start off. But as the tyres come up to temperature, as they start pushing, we'll probably see that corner cut a lot tighter.
A game of how well do you know your car and its positioning in the virtual world here tonight, and how much are you willing to gamble a bit of a brush there at that final turn. Indeed, as up the hill we go once again. You can see the differing curb usage there. Dance in particular quite aggressive over the curb at turn 3 compared to the others, but they're all taking quite a bit of curb through turn 4. Missed the apex of 5 and up and over the exit curb though, as you can push it up towards the wall and gamble on things there. And then down here to turn 6, use the wide hairpin here on this Cup Historic, and then down the hill with the NASCAR chicane layout. Now the typical flow and the traditional flow of the circuit, and really leaning on the car all the way down here. The front tyres on both sides of the car will be complaining quite a bit by the end of this race tonight, I would have to say. But look at this here from Hayden Sell, looking to get back onto the front row after that subpar start in deep at the final hairpin race. Slight rub from Cam Dansby. He's opened the steering to make sure there wasn't too much contact, but place gain, if only just there at the end of lap 2. It does give Matthew Bowler, though, almost a second advantage as we're looking back at Damon Mulqueen and Thomas Hinz scrapping over P5 at about the same time here.
Yep, looks like Hinsey not quite able to get it done on Mulqueen into the first turn. They'll be catching up to Simon Mazzomo pretty shortly, and looks like Thomas Hinz is the fastest car out of this particular trio, 113.2 on the last lap. Took 2/10 out of Simon Mazzomo and Damon Mulqueen on lap 2. But Matthew Bowler is putting the power down. Look at that, fastest lap so far, 1 minute 12.5.
In the background.
Goodness gracious, that is a big smash. We've got a couple cars involved in that. Robbie Bradbury and Brady Baldwin involved. And looks like that was Brady Baldwin losing it on his own over the curb. Replay thanks to our friends at Virtual Racing School. And Robbie Bradbury, I think an innocent victim here. He had to take avoiding action because of this mistake from Baldwin. Just lost the rear, took way too much curb, bounced over it. In comes Bradbury. He actually lost it over the curb himself.
All right, well, carbon copy and sympathy spins all around. Unfortunately for Bradbury, though, he picks up some decent damage on the right side of circuit. Here's what it looked like from on board his car. So actually, yeah, misses the apex curb, which seemed to upset Baldwin's car more, but in Bradbury's case, yeah, just up and over that exit curb, which certainly big fat log of a curb is going to be quite easy to disturb your vehicle. So he's going to press on here with the damage he's got. Hopefully won't upset his car too much, but he is now sort of in a world of his own as we check back in the leaders. Matthew Bowler continuing to put the foot down. Now does a 1:12.224 there on lap number 3 to move the fastest lap marker just that further bit forward. And, well, actually in saying that, Hayden Sell quicker last time around, but an invalid lap for him means that it doesn't officially count. But it means all the same, though, for the purposes of his gap to Bowler. He did close up by almost 0.3 of a second on that last lap. Meanwhile, Thomas Hinz looking quick in that group earlier on, but he's starting to be caught here by Lachlan Caper, who's now on his bumper as they make their way down to the end of lap number 4 here.
Indeed. Hayden Sell did run a faster time, but he must have picked up an off track on the way through because it hasn't officially counted as the fastest lap of the race. So either way, the top drivers are really pushing at the moment as out of the hairpin they come here for some of the minor positions in the field. It's Anthony Green, Brady Baldwin and Lindsay Hobbs, and Green lifting off very early there to let these guys go. Obviously doesn't feel like he can fight with them as hard as he would necessarily like. Sell and Dance, meanwhile, still very close for second, and Sell with that slight lock up into the hairpin at the end of lap 1, really making sure that he could get that position. But Cameron Dance is trying his darndest to make his way back forward. Looks like Sell got a better exit out of the hairpin that time around. Let's see if Dance can catch back up under brakes.
Yeah, he's looking to brake a little later, it seems, and really try and carry the initial momentum in. Of course, that does risk being a trade-off of being too slow.
Whoa.
Oh, boy, showed the nose, and I thought for a second maybe Cam Dance going to return the favour and just absolutely throw it up the inside there, but not close enough that time, Reese. But certainly trying to get in the mind of Hayden Sell there with moves like that and, well, repay the favour perhaps in a much the same way it got served up a couple of laps ago. If they keep that up, though, the gap to Bowler will grow, even though it is still holding at around 0.9 of a second between first and second here. Look at the different lines again. Dance really trying to attack the curbs, but I don't think it's quite the best way over there. It would seem to be disrupting his run a bit much, but at the same time, that's not really an overtaking spot unless the driver ahead makes a major mistake. Speaking of a couple of mistakes, unfortunately, looks like Liam Hall, bit of trouble there, but also Lindsay Hobbs just behind him in the 27 machines to come under some trouble. So find out what's happened to them thanks to the replay from Virtual Racing School here, Reese.
Yeah, and I think Liam Hall might get a penalty from race control for this one. He loses it on the exit of turn 2, so he's stopped in the middle of the track, has a bit of trouble getting it going, avoiding action from one car, but then he tries to recover and goes right into Lindsay Hobbs, who had already decided to go to the left side. So not too sure how race control are going to look at that, but either way, I think Lindsay is going to feel bit hard done by by that one. Now down in 17th place, unfortunately, thanks to that. We check back in with the top 3 though, and we'll see how Dance uses the curbs this time round, because it does seem that with how harsh the curbs are here through these S's, well, Dance obviously feels pretty comfortable using them, but it's not gaining him any time through that section.
Yeah, but he looks a little better up here at 5 and 6. Well, his turn 5 he's looking a little stronger, I would say. The turn 6 obviously is the most crucial corner at this end of the circuit. Got to get the run and the drive out of there to be able to stay close down the hill to turn 11, ultimately the hairpin at the end of the lap. Further update on Lindsay Hobbs. That contact, thanks to the spin for Liam Hall and its recovery attempt, has actually sent Hobbs to the pit lane with a mechanical black flag. So he is now down and serving that, thanks to what looks to be not severe, but clearly some serious damage to the left rear corner under that car there, unfortunately for him. So that will see him there for some time, and at the very least down a full lap on your leaders as they come past him now out on track.
Yep, top 3 remain as they are, and they're still close together at the end of that. Hayden Sell, fastest car on track that time around, 112.56, and oh my goodness, Dance is pushing ultra hard there on the exit of turn 2. That's going to cost him some valuable time as we check back in for the battle for 4th. Mazomo's still holding off Mulqueen. Thomas Hinz has dropped off the back of these guys, and doesn't look like they're in any danger of being caught up by him unless they start battling on board here with Mulqueen as they make their way down into turn 6, using a lot of the curb on the middle of the corner, and it doesn't quite translate into a good run through the first part of the S's. But we'll see what Mulqueen can do here through the faster corners coming up towards the end of the lap. I love the elevation change here at Sonoma. It's definitely a lot more pronounced on the full layout that some series run, but you still get a good healthy helping of it here using the old short NASCAR layout. And wow, have a look at that. Mazomo cutting the inside of the final hairpin very nicely and allowing him to keep a nice gap to Mulqueen.
Yeah, just a little bit different in the execution of the line there, and paying off in its due respects. And then up the hill here through turns 1 and 2 as they're counted, and you can see just all about getting that car as far left as you can before you start making the climb proper. And then you choose to attack 3 and 4 here. You can see most drivers opting to get the apex curb there at turn 4 to try and float that one over the top and just let the car settle. And it's going to be an interesting case to see how things go, because we're also on things we were warned about at the start, or prior to actually going live tonight, Reese, was that tyre wear here tonight is going to be an issue, and just in terms of general wear and how that will force you to have to adapt to driving the car over the course of the race, because it is a fairly warm set of conditions out there as well. 28 degrees air temperature, 38 degrees track temperature currently, and we are currently sitting at mid-virtual morning here in Sonoma, not yet 10:30 a.m., which means that, well, the second race only has the potential to be hotter still after this is all said and done and we return from the Jetta Cup races later.
Indeed, and from past experience with V8SCOPS visiting Sonoma in almost every season, this track has a reputation for eating tyres for breakfast, lunch and dinner. It's a very rough surface here on the iRacing scan, and you've got to be careful about tyre preservation, especially with the nature of the course. There's barely any time to rest. You're always putting the tyres through some kind of load through a corner. And this battle for 4th is still looking pretty good. Thomas Hinz and Lachlan Capel just sitting behind and watching this battle go on between Mazomo and Mulqueen. It looks like Damon avoiding the curb that time around. And look at the exit that he got that time. He's almost right on the bumper of Mazomo as they make their way through to the penultimate corner. Got to be careful on this drop here. There's grass, well, sand really, just outside that corner, and you cannot afford to put a wheel in the grass. Is this going to be a move from Mulqueen? Meanwhile, he does have a look up the inside, but Mazomo covering it, making a V shape of the line through the corner. Have a look at how close Hinz is getting now.
Yeah, all this is doing is just bring this group together. We're going to have ourselves a 4-car train to fight over P4, because Lachlan Capel was just at the background of shot. of this group there. He is there now. So he's dropped off the back of Hinz a fraction in the past couple of laps, but well, Mazomo lapping in the mid 113s and Hinz and Capel behind, both doing a 13.0. So gaining 3/10 and a bit last time around. Mulqueen definitely looking a bit held up here and would certainly like to get through into P4 and then try and make inroads on the guys ahead. Unfortunate thing for him, he's just going to have to somehow find, it's 4 seconds up the road to Cam Dance in P3, so that will be quite the gap to overcome if he can find a way through here. But this really just is serving another reminder of the challenge of this circuit, and will be interesting to see how pit stops in race 2 affect things for these guys and who can make an undercut work. If an overcut is at all viable in this car tonight, we will have to wait and see on that and see what they can do, because otherwise now it's down to making a pass or forcing an error from the driver ahead. That is what you've got in your toolbox for this opening race tonight.
Well, it's a proper trio now. Mulqueen's still not quite successful in finding his way past Mazomo, but he'll be hoping that Mazomo is putting a lot of load through his tyres and wearing them down, and he'll be able to make a move potentially towards the end. Only real overtaking opportunities around here are into turn 6 and into the final hairpin. Those are the slowest corners on the track with the heaviest braking zones. So see what they can do here coming down to this section. It looked like Mulqueen didn't quite nail the S's of turns 3 and 4. So that's brought Thomas Hinz right into it here in the Jinx Shifters purple machine just behind him. And let's see how he hooks up that exit. Mazomo is really starting to get away now. And looking at the lap times, these three have all been very consistent. But I think we're going to see a bit of a difference for Mulqueen this time around with that slight mistake through that S-bend.
Yeah, you can see the gap up to 0.7 of a second. Trying to cut that back down here at the end of the lap, but well, Thomas Hinz lying in wait. Falcon Capel behind him again, also sitting comfy for now and just not quite making inroads either. But I think we'll see how that plays out in the next little while. The one that we should probably keep another eye on here is the fight for the lead race, because Hayden Sells made some very nice inroads in the past couple laps. Matthew Bowler is starting to fade quite a bit there. You can see the gap on track at the line, half a second. The gap last time around on lap time was 0.3 pretty much in favour of Hayden Sell there. So that's quite a bit of a chunk of time taken out of the race leader by our second place driver there. There is your group of now 4 pretty much lined up equidistant pretty nicely there as they come down to turn 6. Back to your top 2 though, as they've been able to drop Cam Dance a little bit here. Not quite able to go with the 897 in his attempt to restart the fight for the race lead, Reese.
Yep, have a look at that. Matthew Bowler's really having to look over his shoulder now at Lachlan Capel. Hayden Sell. This is turning into quite the fight as Sell goes very deep under brakes once again, tries to make up a little bit of distance. Look how much lock he's putting on in the middle of the corner in the final hairpin. He's looking really desperate to try and get this lead and make good on his pole position for race 1. Don't forget, these guys are going to be starting at the back for race 2. It's a full reverse grid, so if he doesn't end up winning, then it's not going to be too much of an issue for race 2. You'll just have to hope that he can get his standing start sorted here. Coming through turn 5, there does seem to be some good pace between these two, and they are leaving Cameron Dance behind at the moment. It seems that Dance has put his tyres past their best.
Well, yes, okay, the gap's back to 1.7, but actually it was at 2 seconds this time last lap around. So Dance finding another 0.3 it seems on the race leader there. And in fact was faster than Bowler last time. In fact, the fastest of the top 3 was Cameron Dance. So bit of ebb and flow there that's yet to play out. So that's going to be important to keep our eyes on, as Shane Best, unfortunately, in the 122 machine has come unstuck and has unfortunately found himself there in the middle of the S's, trying to get back up to speed and in a world of hurt. Currently 6 laps down from your leaders, unfortunately, after a very lengthy excursion to the pit lane in the opening stages of this race. Meanwhile, back on live pitches as Lindsay Hobbs is going to rejoin the race there after a very lengthy 9-minute repair cycle in the lane. And he'll just try and make sure he gets out of the lane here at the right time to not interfere there. But, well, don't see that very often in sprint racing like this. Reese, a driver coming back after 9 minutes of repairs and being well, a long way down off the race lead. But credit to Lindsay there, wanting to get back out there and still willing to get back out there to finish this first race off tonight.
Yes, we'll see if he ends up being classified, because you can still race for some championship points if you complete over 75% of the race distance. And, well, I think 9 laps down, he might just miss out on that classification cutoff. But we'll have to wait and see, as down into the final hairpin comes Mazomo and Mulqueen. Thomas Hinz still sitting there as we're coming up on 11 laps to go for these drivers here, all fighting for 4th place.
Yeah, this fight continuing to well, hold station for now, to be honest. You can actually see that Mazomo, Mulqueen pretty close together. Hinz has dropped off the back of this, so it really feels like a lot of ebb and flow. And you can actually see Lock and Capel has almost dropped well out of shot there. 1.2 seconds back from Hinz, so not able to keep the pressure on the number 1 machine at the back of the group, but maybe needing just to conserve things for now and set up for a run late in the race to close the difference and make the move when these drivers might have lost the edge when we get to that point in the event. But you see here Mulqueen trying to find something to get a run down the hill, it would seem, and a little bit more aggressive over the curbs there in the first part of turn 8, but looks to be about neutral with what Mazomo ended up doing there, I think, Reese. As speaking of ebb and flow, look at the gap there between the race leader and Cam Dance in P3. It's back up to 2 seconds, if not a bit more there. So just, again, looking to try and make advantage. But when it was down to 1.6 a while back and now springing up towards 2.3, definitely a serious case of ebb and flow. Meanwhile, Mulqueen looks a little bit closer on the exit of the hairpin for good measure in all of this as well, too.
Yeah, let's see what Mulqueen can do as we focus on Cameron Dance for a brief moment. This is looking mighty close on the way up the hill. Mazomo, oh goodness, Mulqueen took quite a bit of the curb in turn 2 there, and it briefly unsettled the car. He lost a bit of pace mid-corner because of that. We'll see if he can gather something up here. Car kept nice and level over the crest there. He didn't take much of the curb, but you pretty much have to use all of the exit curb in that section there if you want to get some good pace down the short straight. Got to be careful of that tyre bundle on the outside, though. I have seen Matthew Bowler get incredibly close to that on multiple laps. But down into the S's, we come down into the penultimate corner for Bowler and Sell, and Hayden is certainly putting some pressure on Matthew Bowler here. Try and keep the line as wide as possible into the final corner. Don't hit the pit wall on the outside. And now across the line to begin the 18th lap of this 25-lap race. Let's compare lap times here for Matthew Bowler. It is a 1 minute 13.0, but it's a 1:12.83 for Hayden Sell. It looks like he's starting to get some pace back.
Yeah, again, just finding a bit of speed now. The question is he have that speed to carry that through to the end of the race? Or is there going to be another phase here where Bowler maybe just finds a couple of tenths, builds that gap towards the second again, and then maybe one final resurgence, perhaps? Because that's what it feels like in this race. I'm seeing a lot of drivers just back and forward between each other. A little bit of game, but then maybe stalling out a bit with tyre temperature and wear. Well, perhaps more tyre temp more so than wear in these cars, given this is a short sprint race in them, but having to then just take a moment, let them recover for a bit, and then you find that they come back to you and you go again, but you're not quite close enough as a result to capitalise. And well, look at this here now. Truly a three-way fight for P4. Thomas Hinz closing right onto the back of Mulqueen, who's still there inside 0.4 of a second on Mazomo, but just not able to get close enough to really set something up. And in fact, going all the way to the edge of the track and then some at the exit of turn 11. That's a lock from Thomas Hinz into the hairpin there, but pulls it up without any drama, thankfully. But you can see these guys are certainly committing incredibly hard to pushing the limits here in this final phase of the race, Reese.
Absolutely, and I think Hinsey, he's racing for more than just position here. He wants to try and minimise the advantage that Cameron Dance is going to get with a P3 finish in terms of the championship. Remember, Dance and Hinsey are first and second in the standings, and they're separated by some 40-odd points. So at this point of the season, when we approach the second half of the amount of races completed for the flat sixes, Thomas Hins is going to have to try and take as many points potentially away from Cameron Dance as possible, or try and minimize the damage. So if he can allow Mazomo and Mulqueen to fight, we check out the championship standings in the bottom right there. You see the gap between Cameron Dance and Thomas Hins. This is going to be a crucial part of the season for Hinsey. Needs to get those results, needs to finish on par or ahead of Dance. And look at that. He went incredibly deep into the final corner that time. Manages to turn it into a late apex, but didn't quite gain him the time he would have wanted, as Sell now right on the rear bumper of Matthew Bowler, who's starting to use a lot more of that curb in the first corner.
I wonder if the option here for Bowler is perhaps just if you can hold Sell in position there for a little bit longer, try and encourage Dance to find a little something more out of the number 6 machine in P3 to close back on into these two guys ahead and apply the pressure from Sell in behind there and force Sell to try and think of it both ways. In fact, as you can see, the gap now down into 1.3, 1.4 range. It always feels like that might be the play here from Bowler in terms of just trying to back Sell in to Dance there in third, if he can manage that, as we continue to watch these three guys still going at it, still probably no more than a second covering all three cars as they make their way down through turn 8 and 8A there through this S's section. And I mean, yes, they're a good, you can see it's about 8 seconds off the race lead, but you can see that, actually, pardon me, it's a lap car that's going to interrupt my my train of thought and the point I was going to make in saying that the leaders aren't all that far up the road, but these guys are racing amongst themselves well and truly now, because they're your front two, with P3 just a little bit further back. And so 5 laps to go. What has Cameron Dance got for your top two? Is this time Mulqueen a little further back from Mazomo? Does Hins have something for him now, and can he apply the pressure and get through to get at least one spot here, Reece? I'm not too sure yet, because again, one driver gains something somewhere and they seem to get it, well, if they lose something, they get it back somewhere else, vice versa, all over this place, it would seem.
Yeah, on board with Hins through that very challenging section of the course, and you see how close they run to the outside wall through turn 5. Have a look at that, a little bit earlier on the throttle, as that's Shane Best letting the drivers go. A little bit earlier on the throttle for Damon Mulqueen. He got a nice launch out of there, but you'll see as they come up to the final couple corners, Hinsey definitely goes deep under brakes. Speaking of Cameron Dance, you asked if he had something for those two up the front. Well, last lap he was faster than the both of them by about 3/10 apiece. We'll see what it's like coming across the line this time around. Bowler and Sell across the line, 1 minute 13.0 for the both of them, but Cameron Dance is in the 112s. He's gotten a little bit of pace back, so it seems that Bowler potentially backing Sell into Dance, starting to work. But I don't know if Dance has enough time to try and mount an attack with only 4 laps to go.
Well, you can see that there. If he can pull off lap 19 and 20 gains, as he did there in the past couple of laps, that will be what he needs. But yeah, laps like 21, if it's only marginal gains, they're not going to be enough. He needs to really be there for at least a lap to really try and get in the mirrors of Sell, and then maybe, yeah, just fire it back down the inside of the final turn, or at least the final hairpin, which, you know, for the most part really does constitute the final turn here, but officially technically no, as that seems to be the best course of action for him here. That's your battle once again for P4. Still only 3/4 between them all as they come down through the S's once again. This time, Mulqueen got a bit more of a breathing room to Hins behind than he does Mazomo ahead. So, again, just back and forth between these guys. No one able to make a clear advantage. A little lock there from Mazomo, though. That's going to just pinch him on the corner exit. But Mulqueen too close to get underneath there, and that backs him up into Hins as well. So they neutralise once again. All even across the line pretty much with 3 to go on the board. A little bit of pressure perhaps starting to show there for Mazomo, but he still holds on to that 4th place. And still these guys can't find a way through here as they come up and over the hill here to start this third last lap.
Mulqueen got a 10th on Mazomo last lap, and Hins got a 10th on Mulqueen. So these guys very evenly matched. And speaking of the top three once more, Cameron Dance once again was quicker than Hayden Sell and Matthew Bowler by 2/10 this time. 1 minute 12.7 was Cameron Dance's last lap. Compare that to a 1:12.9 and a 1:13.0 for second and first respectively, as that's one of Cameron Dance's teammates there. I think that might be Taylor Oakes in car 313, who's gone for a bit of an adventure here in the first half of the lap. Let's see what happened for him. So getting on the brakes for the first corner. Yeah, that's an easy mistake for drivers to make, unfortunately, especially when the tyres are worn. Curved braking zone going up the hill into the first corner. We're staying on the replay meanwhile because it looks like something's gone on here for Damon Mulqueen, and Thomas Hins has managed to get by him. Have a look at this. Wow, Hinsey coming round the outside and going up the inside into the penultimate corner. That is a brave spot to attempt a pass, but looks like he got it done at the final hairpin.
Yeah, you just saw it there, right back at the top of the S as Reese Mulqueen a little wide of the preferred line and just completely ruins the run as a result and not able to contest. It does give Mazomo the breakaway here. He shouldn't be under pressure unless he cracks all of a sudden here and gives the guys behind him one more chance to go at him. But you can see a lap and a half to go for these guys. Matthew Bowler still holds half a second. There's kind of evenly spaced now, the top three. Dance is still holding at that 1 second marker to your leader. He's going to have to find something, but he tried last time around into the top hairpin. And you can see now, tries to straighten the entry. Bowler deep, though, at the final turn. He makes the door open for Hayden Sell. Not quite there on exit, but this closes everyone back up to him as he takes the white flag. We're going to have a three-way race for the win here, and we've got 3 kilometers to sort it out.
Oh boy, this is going to be fantastic here. Into turn 2 they come. Now Bowler keeps it nice and stable in the mid-corner. So does Sell, so does Dance. They're going to have potentially a little bit of traffic here towards the end. Anthony Green is making his way around the track just up ahead of these guys. Goodness gracious, that was a big save there from Dance across the top of the hill. Managed to recover it though. Bowler just holding on to the lead now. Dance, I think, though, might have put a bit too much heat in his tyres. He's going to need a miracle if he wants to try and get it done here on Hayden Sell and try and gain at least one position towards the finish. Here they come then, catching up quite quickly to Anthony Green. He might let them by on the way into the final hairpin, or he might just be far up enough ahead that he'll be able to continue at his full pace. Either way, this looks like it's going to be a dramatic finish. Does anyone go for a final dive at the hairpin? Bowler protecting the inside, going middle of the track. Cameron Dance gets up the inside of Hayden Sell, and I don't know.
Serve.
Oh, yep, there we go. Dance has managed to get ahead for second at the final hurdle, but Matthew Bowler is going to take victory here. He's not going to put a lap there on Anthony Green. Green's still racing there. And it looks like Thomas Hins has managed to hold on for 5th place from Damon Mulqueen. Goodness gracious, that was quite a fun finish there. Right at the end, Cameron Dance getting by Hayden Sell to secure second, as there's an incident for Chris Coxhead there. Goodness gracious me. Thank goodness there isn't a wall there.
Well, that might just be a one for the... It's somewhere in between not top 10 and top 10, but we'll talk about that later because Benjamin Fulton and Tyler Oakes are here racing for position, and unfortunately Lindsay Hobbs not quite. Looks to me like it's going to be Faulkner there in the 042 ICT Marketing Race on Oscar. Going to hang out on the head there of Oakes as our last couple of drivers coming across the line. Liam Hall, Robbie Bradbury there for 13th place, bringing it around, and they finish as they were out of the final turn there. And that now just leaves John Courtney to take the flag. So there we go. All drivers across the line to wrap that one up there. And, well, it came on the very last lap and the last braking opportunity there, Reese. But Cam Dance finally getting himself what he wanted to return serve on that one there. So I'll run you through the results. It's time for Reese to run to the Jetta Cup. And we'll see him out on track very soon indeed. But once again, here are your results from the first race tonight for the Flat Sixes at Sonoma. Matthew Bowler taking that race win, and with a margin of just under half a second there to Cameron Dance, who gets back through into P2 there on Hayden Sell. getting the return on the bump pass that we saw early on at the same corner. And, well, given that it happened early on in the race, I think that's pretty much a fair play there, but we'll wait to see if anything comes of it. So Mazomo there, nice run in P4, a bit of a ways back. Nevertheless, he hangs on ahead of Thomas Hinz there, who able to finally get Damon Mulqueen to crack under pressure there. So 5th and 6th respectively for the two of them. Lachlan Capel not able to go with the group, but on his own a pretty comfy 7th for that first race tonight. Chris Coxhead behind him, despite the half spin at the end of the lap, recovers or holds on to P8. Daniel Cheney next there in 9th, with Brady Baldwin just behind him to round out the top 10 for the results there. Ben Faulkner just hanging on ahead of Taylor Oakes for 11th and 12th respectively. Likewise, Liam Hall and Robbie Bradbury, not too far between the two of them for 13th and 14th. And Anthony Green just staying on the last lead lap there, I should say, in 15th. And John Courtney 1 lap down. Shane Best, unfortunately, 6 laps shy. Lindsay Hobbs 8 laps short. And that was your 18 starters and finishers for the first race of the Flat Sixes. We'll take a quick break here at SimSpeed TV and return after these ads for our 2 Jetta Cup races here to get through the middle phase of this evening's action.
This is your chance to get behind the wheel. The opportunity to race just like the pros. From the grassroots levels, where we all got our start, to the most popular race cars on the planet. From the fairgrounds of Nashville to the high banks of Daytona, to tracks that will never be forgotten. Realistic driving, intense competition, all from the comfort of your own home. This is the ultimate motorsports simulation. This is iRacing.
Welcome back to SimSpeed TV as we continue our coverage from round number 8 of the Logitech G V8SCOPS Support Series for 2022. My name is Daniel Yeaman, and now joined in the commentary box by Jake Kennedy as we turn our attention from the Flat Sixes to the Jetta Cup for the mid part of this evening's action, as of course fellow commentator Rhys Garner departing the comms box to actually get out on track this evening in this category. So shall we have a quick look at the championship standings for these guys? And well, unlike the Flat Sixes, these cars have featured at every round since except Montreal, I should say. So we do have 6 events out of 7 counted for these guys here. hence why the points total for the front runners is quite a bit higher. And interestingly there to see is that driver towards the top of those standings, to be honest, I wasn't quite expecting Linton Wills sitting there in P2, despite what I would have argued was
I was a bit surprised by that too, but I would guess, and hello everybody, I would guess that that's mainly because Linton Wills has finished every race, and we've had a few other guys have DNFs, so shows the importance of finishing. As Reese mentioned earlier, you've got to finish 75% of every race to actually get points. There's a huge gap between getting 450 for a win and a 0 for a DNF or not classified. So making sure you finish every race is more important than necessarily getting a perfect result.
It is very true indeed. That is how these series have always run, and as far as I can tell, always will. But yeah, have been plenty of drivers who have sprung up into form of recent. But yeah, I can just see, looking at Linton's points totals, just hovering around the top 5, top 7 or so, and in these groups, that makes all the difference, even if it's not quite the front of the field. But we'll see how things play out tonight. Of course, 2 races as always for these guys. 10-minute opening race, 15-minute second race with the full reverse grid for those, well, that second race to try and spice things up. And I've just seen Ben Christensen absolutely monster the apex curb at turn 5 there, Jay. Well, I think I've just learned the Jetta and its capacity for not handling the curbs based on what that car just did there. And so I think that certainly is worthy of a virtual racing school replay.
I can't wait to see what... Oh my goodness. That is brilliant. Could we see someone roll it tonight? Because that was some big bouncing off the curbs. We have seen at other races that the curbs can bite these cars, so there is every chance we're going to see someone roll it here, and I'm looking forward to seeing it, and fingers crossed we do. Hopefully it doesn't take anyone extra out with them.
Yes, well, that would be a spectacle in a half, and one for the not top 10, should that indeed happen. So, well, we'll wait to see how things go there. And, well, first of all, got to get through qualifying before we get to the races. 10 minutes, and just like the flat sixes, which after I completely mucked it up when I was talking about things, hard cut as always, because it's a heat server, which means that qualifying has to cut off to get us into the first race. And unfortunately there for Zach Mitchell, first time out in the Jetta. Oh, another driver is going to opt to absolutely monster the curb at turn 5, whereas guys like Ray Oliver opting to keep the car a little bit more steady and dodge the apex curve entirely there. That will be, I think, quite interesting to watch here in the next couple of laps to see what's the fastest way around here tonight. Daniel Stevens, Aaron Gilbert fastest through Sector 2. Trying to keep up now with exactly who's on purple sectors. Ray Oliver fastest in the first part of the lap. Second part of the lap. Interesting. Oh yeah, it wasn't fastest in Sector 2. Apologies, that's why. And quite a bit off, but does put in the purple Sector 3. So, oh dear, meanwhile. Oh dear. Ben Christensen there in the number 9.
Having that little loop, so gonna hurt.
Yes, and Christensen there having to park it up and wait. Now, 2 purples for Ray Oliver. Can he make it 3 out of 4 purple sectors here on this first run? For him, 125.949 is the first valid lap on the board in the session to boot. And I'm pretty sure it's a pretty solid lap for good measure. We saw it in flat sixes there, but the attempt to try and... Well, actually, I was going to say I thought that was going to be an attempt to V the run and straighten the exit, but car really going for the wide entry, but then just, I think, flooring it and just trusting in the low power of the car to allow him to actually stay quite tight to the all the tyre bundles there through the final hairpin.
About to see Coxhead cross the line to finish his first flying lap. Only 4 drivers actually posted lap times on that first run. Oliver, Stevens, Gilbert, and Coxhead. So not everyone getting a lap time in on that first run, but still plenty of time. Interesting the pace of these cars. We've seen at some tracks that 30-odd seconds off the pace, but here only around 15 seconds off what we've seen. Make that 13 seconds from what we've seen in the Porsche. So surprising the pace that these cars have got. They're not too slow.
Yeah, I think it's a case of the track is a momentum track, and if you can keep the momentum up in these things, well, then you're not going to expose the great flaws that they have in the forms of, well, low power and poor braking and grip. I mean, yes, the grip in these cars is probably a bit lacking, but they seem to be somewhat nimble enough if you can get it pointed in the right direction on turn-in. And as we see there, Ray Oliver does go 2 fastest laps in a row, improves his margin to almost 0.3 of a second as the rest of the field comes around here to put more on the board. So Linton Wills' car, really the last 2 cars to put a lap on the board, make that just Linton Wills, because car really goes to the top of the charts with provisional pole 125.530, a new benchmark for these guys at the halfway mark in qualifying here.
Ray Oliver will be the next one to cross the line. Interesting that Linton Wills actually isn't out on track at the moment. So wondering if he started his lap and has had, excuse me, has failed the no escape rule. Of course, all V8SCOPS events running the no escape rule. So as soon as you're out on track, you must return to the pits before you can reset. You escape or reset, your session is done regardless of where you are. Been probably one of the rules that we've had in V8SCOPS from the start. How's that for Tokyo Drift from Dan Stevens? That's been implemented by lots and lots of leagues all over the world. So it's pretty cool to see that that rule been added and implemented a lot of places for a bit of extra realism.
I mean, yeah, if you're going to try and do a bit of sim racing and try and... yes, actually, yes. I don't know if you're referring to broadcast chat. I've actually just seen it for myself. So, yes, the confirmation there that indeed that's why Linton Wills no longer taking part in the session. So 9 drivers
seen that.
times. Oh no, so yes, the confirmation indeed from a race control member Henry King to verify that indeed Linton Wills did tow without permission, or if he did tow with permission, then either way, that means that's him out of the running for qualifying. So 9 cars will get a chance to put times on the board, and Linton Wills will be the 10th and final on the grid for this one here. As we're checking out Chris Coxon coming around the final couple of turns. Can he improve on a 126.8? He might just, he will indeed go to a 126.5. And that, unfortunately for him, though, will keep him in P7. We'll need to find another 0.2 and some to get up to P6. And from there, try and crack into the low 126s for just outside the podium here at this stage, which are all in the 125s. Unfortunately, Coxon has just found the grass at the top of the turn 4, so he'll have to come around and try again. He'll get one more attempt at this lap. Someone like Gavin Cox actually will also get one attempt after. Actually, yes, because the top clock will run out before they can complete another lap after the one they're about to start, as is the nature of the heat format.
Cox improves just by not much. No, he doesn't improve. I'll take that back. See what Ben Christensen can do. Current best of a 27.6, so that is not an improvement. Kyle Ridley, who was doing a bit of a slow prep lap, but this lap hasn't been too good either. So maybe he's just putting all of his eggs into this one lap right here. Chris Coxhead also doing the very, very wide run through the hairpin to try and get the run. And not only that, he's heading way off into the drag strip car park to try and warm up for this lap. He's doing everything he can. I think they've got to find 0.2 though to pass Gavin Cox, and only another 0.2 from there past Reece Gardner. Gardner and Gilbert very close in 4th and 5th as well.
Interesting lines there indeed from Cox. It actually surprised that doesn't trigger some kind of penalty from iRacing to be like, well, that's a no-no from you there for trying to push the limits. Automatically, he is pushing the limits at the top of the hill at turn 4. I think he got away with it that time. First car across the line, by the looks of things, to be complete with qualifying will be Zach Mitchell. Yes, indeed. He will no longer get a chance to put another lap on the board. So this is it for the 54 machine. What's it going to be across the line? A 26.7 for Zach. That is an improvement, and that will be his best in the session, but still only good for 8th place currently. Does move the benchmark a bit further forward for Christensen at the back of the field, though. 26.3 for Reece Gardner. Unfortunately, that is not an improvement, and that is his session done for now. Christensen will start out of 9th place for this one. Carl Ridley still hanging on to provisional pole, and Ray Oliver is also in the pit, so it looks like unless a miracle lap comes out of Gavin Cox, that should be edgy things. And actually, no, pardon me, Cox is currently heading up the hill and will not get back to the pit lane in time. So I do believe, barring Chris Coxhead here, as he comes to try and finish this lap and improve. Can he find a 26.3 or better with this one? Unfortunately, no, a 27.2. The 208 machine. That should lock in our grid as the session heads towards 0 here. And the clock strikes 0, and so I can now walk you through the grid for race 1 of 2 for the Jetta Cup from Sonoma here tonight. 10 drivers to take the field, and it's going to be Carl Ridley to lead them off the line. His teammate Ray Oliver alongside him once again in P2. Then it's Daniel Stevens and Aaron Gilbert there on row number 2 to follow them away here at the start. Reece Gardner's got Gavin Cox alongside him. It's Chris Coxhead and Zach Mitchell on row number 4, and then it'll be Ben Christensen and Linton Wills on row number 5 to round out your drivers taking part in the Jetta Cup tonight. So again, another tight field as always here. Going to be an interesting one, Jay, because it's certainly been shown already to not be super pass friendly. It's going to be all about the setup for those 2 hairpins, it would seem, above all else, if the flat 6s are anything to go by this evening.
Yeah, the one thing about these cars, though, the draft keeps these guys together. So regardless of the pace that we've seen in qualifying, it literally means nothing now. This has been some of the most exciting racing we've had in V8SCOPS history. I'm looking forward to seeing how they go with the tight twistiness of this track, but I wouldn't be surprised to see a fair bit of 2 wide side by side through the S's. Bring it on. This is going to be fun.
It will, I think, indeed. And let's see now, as the clock ticks down towards 30 seconds now before we can get the green from Barney. So the driver's here waiting quietly, and I do mean quietly, as I like to make reference to these cars every time I cover these things this year so far. Probably the quietest car on the iRacing service until we decide to pick up something electric in the future. I think is how I describe it, and well, even electric might be noisier than these things, given that.
Or jump start for Ray Oliver.
Oh, that's a good point to note indeed. So your man out of P2 puts himself in a bit of trouble off the start. Barney gives the green flag, and we get racing. And indeed, the 99 has put himself in a world of hurt already. Dan Stevens going to go around the outside to get to P2 here as we head up the hill for turn 2. Surely, does Aaron Gilbert get up the inside and follow through? No, he cannot. They'll have to single file this one as they make their way up through turn 2 in the first lap of this race. But Oliver's actually going to try and fight this one out. I guess, if anything, be a roadblock for his teammate Carl Ridley and allow him to break away. And actually, all that's done is cause a massive gridlock, as in fact contact for Oliver. Multiple cars involved, and Oliver now backwards with Aaron Gilbert going to the grass with him. Multiple cars taking to the apex curb at 5, and it puts Reece Gardner in the tyres. Oh dear, multiple cars on lap 1 in various forms of strife here, Jay.
This has been a crazy first lap, hasn't it? Still going on in this middle group here. It's still side by side between Ben Christensen and Gavin Cox, and we could have a safety car. Chris Coxhead has also got a meatball flag. So this has been a crazy start. Reece Gardner is still stopped out on track. He's been given permission to tow back to the pits. Unfortunate for him, he's already had 1 DNF in this series, and he could find himself with another here.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. Funnily enough, Coxhead, the man who actually made contact with him once again, the paper mache that is this car, proving itself once again that any contact to the axles of this thing definitely causes carnage, chaos, and easy damage to these vehicles. So have a look at it on the replay thanks to Virtual Racing School, and it should happen down at the apex of turn 5 was when I saw it flash up, if I'm not mistaken. But have a look at this here from Ray Oliver. Up the hill against Dan Stevens. a little wide. Aaron Gilbert tries to follow through, and was that actually netco between the two of Gilbert? And then you see Coxhead gets, well, Zach Mitchell trying to come through, barges past Cox, and then up over the curb, bonk with Reese Gardner. And I think, and yeah, that contact with Gardner was all it took to basically end his race there, if I'm not mistaken. Oh dear, is that Ray Oliver boxing?
He's deciding to take some tyres while he's in there. He might as well. I mean, got nothing to lose. He might as well go out there and punch out some fastest laps. Probably got a little bit of damage. He's going to be out there by himself anyway, so no issues with that. As Aaron Gilbert and his recovery just got past Linton Wills, and now Wills is coming back. Oh, contact!
Oh. Elbows out between these boys here as they're racing over P number 6 on track, which is certainly, well, middle of the pack here tonight, but they're giving it everything they've got as they continue this fight down the hill. But Gilbert going to come out on top for now. The question is, neither car looks to have picked up any major damage. So thankfully for both of them, they'll be in good stead. And around the final turn they come. But well, with that bit of scrapping, you can see that next up the road for them is Ben Christensen, who's about halfway between them and the race leader. Meanwhile, fight for P2. Zach Mitchell and Dan Stevens able to have made their way through the field, and Ray Oliver's actually reinserted himself into the race, a lap down, and actually could now play the rear gunner for teammate Kyle
He's
Rivers.
back where he was, just a lap down.
Yeah, it's perhaps a bit unconventional when it comes to, he's in the right place we would expect, well, the place we expect him to be on track roughly based on pure pace, but yes, out of sequence by virtue of penalty and pit service. Question is, what can these guys do about it now that they're behind him on the circuit, and would dearly love to get past him and have a proper go at the race leader here, who's trying to inch out towards a 2-second lead over Dan Stevens there in the number 1 machine.
Chris Gardner back out on track. His pit service, so positive. Won't see him have a DNF. Chris Coxhead still in the pit, still has a meatball flag, mechanical black flag next to his name. So the the steering arms do not like wheel-to-wheel contact in these things at all, do they? We saw it into Lagos; it was quite bad. We saw last round at Motegi. I think we saw 1 or 2 cars succumb to that as well. So hopefully the guys, when they get back out there for race 2 after this 5 minutes to go, will remember that these cars, as you said, paper mache. There's definitely paper mache steering arms in these things. We might not see quite as much contact. A little bit of rubbing, but wheel-to-wheel contact, these things do not like at all.
Yeah, it's the particular weak point. I mean, yeah, track back to Interlagos, where we probably saw one of the more egregious examples of it, as that's both P2 and P3 taking a detour to the grass at the top of the hill after turn 4, and then up and over the curb. Does he get the fence? No, he does not, but talk about leaving nothing on the table this time round for Zach Mitchell, and desperately trying to stay with Dan Stevens, and I don't think he can if those couple of corners are anything to go by for unsettling yourself, and maybe a bit of a Code Brown moment that car could have easily nosed into the fence. In fact, well, how about some more grass this time? So we might just have to call that one a lawnmower based on the fact it's green.
It looks like a John Deere.
It's if it looks like a John Deere, sounds like a John Deere, and drives like a John Deere. That was Ray Oliver's turn to try and do himself a bit of a horticultural work here at the track side of Sonoma. And, well, look at that there actually for the race lead, Jay. It's still holding at 1.8 seconds. Still, though, the problem for Dan Stevens is there is a car in between him and his ultimate target. He does have the pace, it seems, though, to hang with for now. He just needs to find the magic to get through on the man directly in front of him and out of sequence.
Wondering if it's actually helping keep Dan Stevens in the fight, because Ray Oliver's pace is pretty good. He's matching pace. Oh, jeez, bouncing over the curves. He's keeping pace and, you know, maintaining draft with Ridley. Is that helping Dan Stevens keep the gap a little closer than what it may actually legitimately be? I mean, it was 1.9 seconds a couple of laps ago. It's now down to 1.5. The current pace, it could be down to 1.3, 1.2. There's still 3 laps to go, or 2.5 laps to go. So there's still plenty of racing left in this one.
Yeah, I think it could be a bit of that, but actually, funnily enough, looking at this particular lap in question, Stevens looks more aggressive and actually looks tidier than Ray Oliver at this stage. And this might just be where it becomes a problem. Up the back of the 99 at the bottom of the hill here through the fast flick that is turn 10. And actually Ray Oliver does the kind thing and the gentlemanly thing and steps aside to allow Stevens a clean run at his teammate for that race lead. He can slot in behind as Zach Mitchell has well and truly dropped into a pocket of his own there for third, and will be, I think, having to settle for that unless something out of the blue happens up ahead. So cross the line they went there at 2 minutes 40 on the clock. They'll get 2 more laps in that case here to make it a 7-lap sprint for the first one here in the Jetta Cup, which means that, well, we add another 5 minutes on the board. What are we looking at then? Maybe 10, maybe 11 laps if we're extra lucky for the 15-minute final. Hello, yep. Ray Oliver definitely looking a little bit slippery there and pushing the car to the limits. It would have to be said. Unfortunately, I think pushing it just a little bit too far on one too many occasions, repeatedly for good measure, it would seem.
A bit of a lock-up just ahead of these two, that being Gavin Cox and Ben Christensen. So they've actually been closing the gap down to Zach Mitchell a little bit, but I don't think there's going to be enough time on the clock for them to close it right down. But Christensen's pace has improved. The more laps he gets in the car, the better he seems to go. But you put him in the car at the start of the event, he looks like he's absolutely got no idea what he's doing. By the end of the second race, he looks like he could be good enough to be a world champion in the thing. It's just that the evolution of his pace over a race night is clearly evident. Good to watch in some aspects, but scary in other aspects.
Yeah, it's a good point to make indeed. Around the final turn, he comes there in the number 9 machine, and he will receive the white flag from Barney here at the line. So up the hill he goes for one last time here. Unfortunately, though, a bit of a ways back from Gavin Cox there ahead of him in 4th place. Gap is still steady at around 1.6 to 1.8. Bit of ebb and flow depending on the particular corners around here. It seems tonight between your top 2. And they are continuing to drop Zach Mitchell for P3. But thanks to aggressive driving and timing from Mitchell, able to find a way through on the chaos and put himself in that podium spot. Well deserved in that sense all the same. So round turn 6 for the final time. Go your leaders. And you can see there, well, it's going to be as it should finish this way, barring something absolutely unexpected from from Kyle, that being the one person that really should change things. I mean, Stevens making a massive mistake would be shocking for the result, but nope, through the end of the S as they come, Jay, it's going to take some kind of very unexpected issue here at the hairpin, and no, that's nice and calm and sensible from both drivers. Round turn 11, so 7 laps on the books, and Kyle Ridley will get to the line here to take that win, being the first of our 2 for Jetta Cup here at Sonoma. And Dan Stevens, not quite there, but good pace all the same. I think we'll be quite happy with a 2nd place finish, that one there. And Ray Oliver, a 3rd on the track, but certainly not where he would expect to be after that crucial mistake when it came to the pit speed limiter. It will finish in 8th place tonight there as the rest of our field makes their way across the line one by one here.
Chris Gardner will be the last car across the line. He'll restart the next race in P2. Of course, we'll reverse his 10 for the next race. And the positive that he can take away is that he finished and he'll score points. And scoring a 9th place finish is much better than scoring a big fat 0, which he would have been very concerned about midway through that race. So that's the one thing he will take away, even though it's not the best result. Scoring points, as we saw when we looked at those championship standings, is so crucial. Just scoring points each and every race. That's the end now, with everyone now across the line. We will get race results up on screen.
We can indeed. So great thing is we can fit it all on one page. And it fills out the page quite nicely too, I have to say so as well. So your race winner is once again Kyle Ridley there, 1.8 seconds clear of Dan Stevens. Zach Mitchell there up to 3rd place, but ends up drifting away to 5.6 back off the leaders after showing some promise there to potentially pressure for P2 at one point there. Gavin Cox next across the line in 4th. And then it was Ben Christensen and Aaron Gilbert, Linton Wills, to round out your 7 drivers able to avoid the chaos and stay on the lead lap. Ray Oliver, the black flag for the jump start, sees him back there in 8th. Reese Gardner, unfortunately, escorted to the tyre bundle at turn 5, ends up there in 9th. And Chris Coxhead, unfortunately, the man escorting said Reese Gardner, ends up with the mechanical black flag for taking the tap on the tyres, and will finish 6 laps short of that one there. And with that run through the grid, there goes the result, well, the warm-up in between these two. Just like that, thanks to the magic of server settings. So we can get ready for the second race of the evening. And indeed, the full invert grid for this one means that the safety car of Henry King will technically be on pole, which means that it will be Chris Coxhead on the outside of, the inside of the track up the hill. As pole position is sitting on the right side of the circuit here at Sonoma. A little bit of a difference in convention. I'm used to seeing a lot of tracks here give the pole position to the inside line for the first turn.
Just waiting for the clock to tick down to 0. 20 seconds left on said clock, and then we will get this race underway. As he said, 15 minutes on the clock. Looking like it will be 11 laps, so an extra 4 laps in distance. Means a couple more extra opportunities to try and get moves done. But the downfall of that is a couple of extra opportunities where you can make mistakes. We've seen plenty tonight so far.
Yep, that will be important indeed this evening. So, there goes the clock. It strikes 0 here. The revs, if you can hear them, they rise. And we get this race underway here for the second of 2 for the Jetta Cup. Everyone away clean this time. No penalties to spoil the fun. So Ray Oliver there is going to be in a pretty hot seat. But he's got Aaron Gilbert, I believe. Yeah, Aaron Gilbert, Linton Mills side by side behind him, looking to make something of it up the hill into turn 2. But actually all that does is allow your front 3 to break away a little bit here. So Coxhead, Gardner and Oliver, 3 drivers who we know have pace, but unfortunately stymied by a bit of chaos as Linton Wills finds the grass there on the exit of turn 4. Cold tyres perhaps escorting him wide. Oh, and then braking. Wheels on grass and asphalt has done him no favours. Unfortunately, he parks it up at the rear of the train as everyone goes on through to turn number 6. And look at that there. Race winner Kyle Ridley still at the back of the group now, excluding Wills. So trying to find a way through, but hasn't found anything just yet. But these guys are getting very dicey here straight away, Jay. And it's actually causing our group to splinter into these several different packs here as Christensen goes for a trip through the grass there halfway down the S's. He gets it back on circuit, though, just in time as Gavin Cox thinks about something there, but not able to make something work this time by on lap 1. Meanwhile, race lead fight there we switch to indeed. And it's Reese Gardner trying to keep the pressure on Coxhead, while Ray Oliver attempts to also apply the pressure there too as well.
See, Kyle Ridley just hasn't been able to make any inroads at all, has he? You think with the pace that he showed in qualifying and in that race that he should be able to whip past these guys quite easily, but just has not been able to make any moves at all. Shows how difficult it is to overtake at this Sonoma Raceway as Gavin Cox tries to get past the car of Ben Christensen. Dan Stevens not able to get through as well. The front of the field is as it was. This is going to be an entertaining one because it is really difficult to overtake. More so than I expected.
I mean, yeah, because we're used to seeing Ridley, Stevens, Oliver, when they've been at the back of the field with the reverse grids after a strong race 1 result, maybe take at most 3 laps to be at the front once again. But you can see here, halfway through lap 2, Ridley's trying, but he's still not there. He's trying to get around Dan Stevens, who's just placing the car defensively here wherever he can to cover off the run. Does he have it covered off this time? Down the hill, he does. No, he does, actually. I thought he didn't for a moment there as they wander down the hill, but the race lead is bunching back up once again. Reese Garner looking racy and wanting to get something done here. Look at them steering. Bit of brakes from Coxhead in the middle of turn 10 that time by. Gardner opting to push and allow that one to get to the grass a bit. And then, ooh, here we go, up the inside potentially from the 94 machine, but we check in once again. Ridley trying the outside. Surely that suicide in the front-wheel drive car will drop him back a bit. there as he can't put the power down, trying to hook it the long way around as the top three still unbreakable here, and that is what 4/10 looks like in these cars just as they start lap 3, Joe.
Incredible how tough it's been. As you said, we normally would see the likes of Ridley and Stevens and Oliver when he's in the back at least get a couple of positions on the first lap, but nobody's made any inroads at all. The only change of position has really been from Linton Will's mistake. So it's been incredible to see how little change there's been and how stymied the defense has been and how well you can hold on to your spot. I'm really surprised by in the background, did you see Zach Mitchell?
I did.
Launch it over the curves. Oh, bit of
hello.
contact there too from Reece Gardner into Coxhead.
He tries to push the line there. Oh, hello, that's a bit of a track cut potentially for Gardner. No, he gets away with the track cut, just a 1x wraps to his name. Unfortunately, that puts Ray Oliver through. So there we go. The top
Change
three
of position.
finally sees a change of position. We all gasp in shock horror at the sign of track position changing in this one here as we check out Gavin Cox trying to find something on Ben and Christensen as just behind them, Stevens and Ridley keep at it. Why is Kyle Ridley trying to go the long way around? I know you need to find something, but surely Stevens has you covered on the inside. We're on board at the nose there of the 27. Oh, has he finally got Stevens to go in too deep at the hairpin? No, he has not. Stevens gets a better run off of the hairpin. And in fact, change of position. The teammates switch at the back of the train here. Does Kyle Ridley finally have a chance to get another move done, or can Gavin Cox send it around the outside of 1 and stick the apex for turn 2? Not quite. No. Another change of position. It's finally happening, Jay. It only took 3 laps to finally start happening.
It only took a few laps to get positional changes happening, and now that they have, maybe the seas will part and see a little bit more passing happening. Reece Gardner, I believe, due to that incident he had on the previous lap, actually his pace was down around about 1 second from that course cut that you said earlier. So he's almost lost the draft from Chris Coxhead in saying that he's closed up a little bit of ground on this one. But Ray Oliver, now that he's in second position, he's ready to pounce, ready to fight. He's ready to force the issue and take this position from Chris Coxhead ASAP.
He is, but at the same time, he looked good there down the S's, but unless Coxhead makes a blunder here through the bottom of the hill into turns 10 and 11, again, Oliver, he looks a little quicker in spots, but not able to push. Bump as Coxhead tries to a straight V entry to cut that one off, and they're going to actually drag race it perhaps out of the hairpin here. Does Coxhead have enough of a sideways momentum to force the issue up to turn 1? He's going to get a nose ahead again at the line. He'll lead that lap once again, so all the laps led are in his name. Up the hill we go to turn 1, and he will slide across in front of Oliver there. Shut that one off, and look who rejoins the party. Reece Gardner says, I like the look of this. Can I have my ticket back, please? And he's been accepted by the doorman there. Oh, right, geez, that's a bit interesting.
That was a really interesting line, and what he's done is tried to get the crisscross happening, but what he may have done is open the door for Reece Gardner to hold it around the outside, or maybe do an over-under back, but no, he's backed out of it. I'll tell you who is coming into this, is that secondary group. Aaron Gilbert, Zach Mitchell, and the rest are all in this now too. The lead battle is now a 9-car train separated by 4 seconds.
And here I was thinking that, maybe the way lap 1 happened, this group would actually splinter for a change. But no, everyone's back in it. I mean, it's funny enough. 4 seconds usually means it's a pretty tight group of cars when you're talking about 9 of them. But funnily enough, 4 seconds in a group of Jettas still looks kind of spaced out a bit, as that was Ray Oliver wide, and Zach Mitchell also applying himself for he was applying himself for the lawnmower position in the previous race. He looks to have decided to renew that contract there at the exit of turn 10, as looks to have actually gotten away with it in terms of momentum and pace. And look at that here, Ray Oliver trying something at the hairpin, or was that Coxhead? Actually, I think on that particular lap, Jay, a little slow trying to park that one up and drive off the corner, because I'm watching from the rear of shot. He's braking with the car at about a 30 degrees angle, sliding left because of the momentum up the hill through turn 1.
He's pushing hard, isn't he? He's trying everything he can to try and get this move done, and Coxhead is doing just enough. Interesting, fastest lap of the race that time by for Aaron Gilbert. That lap was 1.3 seconds faster than the lap that Chris Coxhead did in the lead of the race. So fairly big pace difference between the front and the rear of the field, or the mid-pack, I should say. Stan Stevens looks up the inside of Ben Christensen. He was far enough up to get the move done, but just the natural flow of the corner means that he can't get the move finished, and now Kyle Ridley's going to have a chance on Dan Stevens.
We say that, but these two have been locked together like this all race long so far, despite what's happening around them and what they're trying out at different parts of the track. He's close as Kyle Ridley, but I don't think he's there. He tries to force the issue down to turn 10. Stevens going to force the issue. That's Aaron Gilbert into the fence. What's happened between those two? Because, Zach Mitchell was on top of him. I wonder if something has happened there at the bottom of the S's between the two of them. Just watch Ray Oliver live pitches almost find the pit wall. But back to the replay thanks to Virtual Racing School, and have a look at this here indeed. So down into the turn, and the barest of overlaps sees contact between the two, and then Gilbert is fired to the fence. He somehow does not have the mechanical black flag yet, as Stevens has got to slow down if we return to live pitches off of the final. Oh dear, he's already... trouble for Dan Stevens with Kyle Ridley down at the hairpin. Means he's now fallen a long way back. A bit of contact between Ridley and Stevens. Saw him way out in the car park and actually taking the IndyCar hairpin as we check it out here on the replay once again, thanks to Virtual Racing School.
Oh, wow. No wonder he's had a slowdown penalty. He's almost ended up facing the wrong way, so he needed to be careful to not rejoin the track at the wrong spot there. So he's done a good job, but yes, he's actually, in saying that, he actually has had a black flag for cutting the course. So he's gone that far wide that he's ended up on the wrong side of the road and got a black flag.
Well, that is very unfortunate to see. Maybe trying to clear that one, because it was a slowdown initially, Jay. I saw that come up on my screen.
Yeah, I saw that too.
Originally. So maybe trying to clear it with just being a Jetta and being slow. A bit like I've seen in other cars, like a Pro 2 light truck. That's possible to clear it that way. As Kyle Ridley finally trying to make some moves here. This would get him up to P. Another middle finger car. This time Ridley on the receiving end of the carnage at the exit of turn 11. As Stevens comes to the pit lane to serve his penalty. Aaron Gilbert picked up one for speeding on pit entry, and we'll have a look at that one there once again with this time Gavin Cox and Carly on the exit of the turn. And has Cox moved across on him there, or is that a case of...
Cox is okay. I mean, he's 3/4 of a lane up from the pit wall. I mean, he could have moved over, but he doesn't have to.
Two cars coming into the same bit of track, perhaps there.
Good ones that I'm glad I'm not in race control for.
Yeah, certainly a bit of decision-making to decipher from that one there. Well, back to live pitches we can finally go. And your top three are still locked in line. And, well, as a result of all the chaos, the group behind is most certainly splintered and fractured. And it's now just Zach Mitchell and Ben Christensen within that 4-second marker, which once held 9 of these guys here tonight. And down the hill they come once again. This time, though, Oliver looks racy. He looks racy. In fact, Cox head to the grass, Reese Gardner to the grass. Oliver looking for the inside at the hairpin. He gets it done, but he's in deep. This might give Reese Gardner a chance to drive off of the exit here and close up. He'll get Coxhead, perhaps. No, Coxhead. The wide line from the Coxhead there, having to give the space, is actually going to give him the straighter exit and the better drive. So despite all of that there, he gets back through, but he already swings out, trying to find a way back up the inside on Oliver at turn 1. Up the hill we go. He's going to go for it, Jay. It almost forced the issue, but has to back out for the sake of clean racing and get the foot back down, and that gives Oliver a breather, half a second in climbing. Can he run away, or can these two stick it with him and keep this a 3-way fight for the race lead to the end? Coxhead still pushing. Track limits now becoming a bit of an optional thing with some of these guys. And look at that there, wide of the apex for Oliver that time, whereas the other two behind him opt to get a bit of the curb on the way through. Not enough to completely launch the cars, but certainly unsettle them a little bit on top of the exit curb, doing just the same kind of thing there for good measure. But look at that there, Jake. Coxhead back inside half a second. He is pushing, and he is willing to throw everything at this gap to get back to the lead here.
He's trying his hardest to get back through. He'll be trying his hardest to be there to potentially pounce at the hairpin, but probably just a tiny little bit too far back at the moment. I must say Ray Oliver is throwing that car around every single way that he can. He's driven this car quite a lot, and is quite used to the behaviour, so he's trying everything he can. Gardner in a bit deep in the background did a good job to avoid contact. And Coxhead's done a great job through the hairpin to cut that gap.
He did a really nice job. The critical corner was turn 10. Oliver a little wide of the preferred line, and as I was saying, I think if you can call it a key to the race in these cars, momentum is so crucial. You're a little bit off the line, and the speed you lose having to make sure you get back towards what you want hurt him so much that Coxhead halved the gap. And Coxhead actually, once again, backed it off a lot more that time up the hill, meaning he was able to get the car to scythe backwards. And he's really rotating it whilst it's braking and still maintaining enough momentum and getting enough power down early that it's actually working in his favour. Pretty similar through turn 5 for both cars, both able to push the limits there on the exit. The yellow lines don't mark the track limits at this point of the circuit in this configuration. And around turn 6 they come. It's half a second once again, 4/10. But watch here and see if we see the gap close here on the exit of turn 10, Jay. This is where Coxhead was quite quick last time around and able to pressure into the hairpin. He needs another 10th or 2 to make a proper go at it if he wants to send it up here under brakes.
He'll only have one more opportunity. This will be the white flag when they come to the start-finish line in just a moment. That's a little bit too aggressive there for Coxhead, but he's able to keep the momentum going despite the movement in the grass. Oh, he's missed the braking point and almost made contact in the back of Ray Oliver. He's done a good job to avoid contact, but that's going to mean lead chances all but done. White flag in the air. Barney is waving, and we will have one more lap of racing. Can Coxhead come back? I don't think he can. Can Gardner close the gap down to Coxhead? That's probably the more likely out of this battle pack.
That would be the probable case. But you can see there through turns 1 and 2, closes the gap up another 2/10 to bring it back from almost a second to 3/4. It's all about how you choose to optimize the line for entry and exit. Gains another 10th again, but he's going to have to find some superhero gains here through the next couple of turns. He absolutely flies it in through turn number 5, but that doesn't quite work out in his favor. Looking at the micro sectors there. One more hairpin to go at the end of the lap, and you can see trying everything he can, but it's going to have to be a massive error that sees Oliver have to scrub a huge amount of speed now, Jay, to lose this one here. Down through the S as we come for one last time. If it's going to be somewhere, it will be down here as Reese Gardner is still keeping his foot in it there in 3rd place. Opts to do a bit of a grass cutting of his own there, and one last time, then Oliver's wide through turn 10. It's going to have to be an absolute send from Coxhead. He's right on the fringes of making it stick. He's closing, he bumps, but he's not quite there. He's going to have to settle for P2, but he closes it up pretty nicely there and picks up a black flag for his troubles for the incident limit.
Oh, wow. So Chris Coxhead's going to go from hero to 0. He's going to drop from 2nd all the way back down to 8th position. In saying that, Kyle Ridley's had a mistake on the last lap. And
he's taking the IndyCar configuration.
Yeah, he's taken the other layup because he's got no choice. Let's see if we can work out what's happened.
That will be very interesting to note indeed. His car is not yet mechanically black flagged, but
it's trashed.
Already crumpled there, so we need to
he's popped the engine.
Mater goes kaboom. And then just tries to straight line it for the sake of keeping the car momentum-wise. He's already down to 60 kph, Jay. He's got a minute and a half to loop around the hairpin and have this car provide enough speed to get back up the hill here. So, engine looks to have blown all by itself. He's down to 47 kph as it limps towards... I think he's got just enough rolling momentum here, and it's flat to the point where the finish line is, that he will get there. But I think you're right that actually, yes, P7 will... Well, sorry, P7 will stay with...
Coxhead.
Coxhead, yes. As Kyle really limps it towards the line. He's slowing. Car's slowing. We're down to 30 kilometers per hour. And it's the slowest finish at Sonoma I think he'll have wanted. And there we go. 2 minute 20.5 for the final lap. And yes, Chris Coxhead sent backwards with the penalty, but well and truly ahead of Kyle Ridley there at the end results. So let's walk you through them here at the end of the second race for the Jetta Cup. Ray Oliver takes the win after the troubles in the first race, able to turn that one around there today. Ahead of Reese Gardner by a second at the end of it all. Zach Mitchell actually makes it 2 podium finishes for him today with some very aggressive and opening lap moves that staying out of trouble afterwards to pick up the good results. Ben Christensen there into 4th place ahead of Gavin Cox. Linton Wills there just ahead of Chris Coxhead after his penalty sees him shuffled down to P7. And then Kyle Ridley limps it home into 8th place. Daniel Stevens unfortunately ends up 1 lap shy of the leaders there, bowing out a little bit there. And Aaron Gilbert 5 laps short, retiring from that race. If I'm not mistaken, indeed, that was the case. So, Jetta Cup done for another week, Jay, and well, pack racing continues as always with these cars.
What a fantastic race that was. That was very, very fun, very entertaining, and they'll be back again next week. So back-to-back weeks for V8SCOPS Supports next week at Donington Park, and they'll be out on track once again alongside the 2-litre Tourers. So make sure you join us again for more Jetta Cup racing next week.
There is your reminder indeed. We're not done here yet tonight. The second race, I should say, of the Flat Sixes will be going live in just under 10 minutes time. So we'll be taking a quick break here at SimSpeed TV. Get ready to cover that one once again. But in the meantime, a couple of messages from our partners here.
This is your chance to get behind the wheel. The opportunity to race just like the pros. From the grassroots levels, where we all got our start, to the most popular race cars on the planet. From the fairgrounds of Nashville to the high banks of Daytona, to tracks that will never be forgotten. Realistic driving, intense competition, all from the comfort of your own home. This is the ultimate motorsports simulation. This is iRacing.
This is fantastic. This is GT racing right now. He's got traction. He's going the outside. Both of them. Maloney. Oh, he's taking Anderson. Anderson's up to him. Oh my God. Big crash. Oh my goodness. Half the field's going to get rolled.
Six very close. These guys I want to make their way through the field very quickly. Oh, there we go. Oh no. That's massive. This is it. This is over. I can't believe this. Oh my God.
God, what?
You're watching the V8SCOPS Support Series for 2022 presented by Logitech G. Well, a couple of interesting races in the Jettas there, some good racing all round and a couple of big incidents. I'm Reese Gardner in the comms box, just jumped out of the Jetta myself. Dan Yeaman with me in the comms box. Certainly was an interesting one, wasn't it, Dan?
It was indeed, and well, we thought for a moment up in race 2 that it was going to fracture, which would be a little bit against the norms from what we've seen in this series so far. And then you proved us all wrong there in the second half of that feature race, and it all bunched back up once again. And then it actually did fragment back at the end after a bit of a mid to late race chaos there. And well, you guys, you might have a 10-car field once again this week, but continuing to deliver some of the more exciting racing we've seen as part of the collective SCOPS Supports program this year, I have to say, still.
Yeah, indeed. Well, either way, we have got Flat Sixes Race 2 coming up very shortly, and was a game of numbers really in the Flat Sixes in Race 1. We're expecting a bit more of the same in Race 2, but of course we have the full reverse grid and the compulsory pit stop, and in terms of the track temperature, well, Dan, it's much higher now, 43 Celsius.
Yep, and the air temp's up to 30 degrees as well, so all of those kind of things be adding a bit more to the cars here tonight. But of course, compulsory pit stop for at least 2 tyres tonight means that the drivers will have some form of relief that they can take any time from the end of lap 2 through to the end of lap 23 tonight, as per standard SCOPS regulations when it comes to compulsory stops. Just to say, end of the second lap and end of the lap before the penultimate lap is the window that they've got at any track where we have a CPS. As just watch, look at this, just watch Taylor Oakes completely lose the car and do a massive flat spin 360 on the exit of turn 10. But thanks to Director Joe Kennedy, here is indeed that format to confirm for you what it is once again. So 25 laps, but with this CPS for at least 2 tyres to factor in. So I was actually thankfully got access to a couple of the guys who were racing there in Flat Sixes earlier, and a couple of them a bit concerned with tyre life and discussing strategy on which tyres they're going to take here, Reese. Obviously take 2 because every tyre adds time in the box, which will cost you out on track. You're probably not going to get back if you go for 3, or well, 3 would be the weird pick, but 4 would be the safe option if you wanted to, for some reason, be really certain on the car. But it's either going to be rears or it might actually be left side tyres here, thanks to the fact that iRacing do simulate, apparently, well, being told at least that iRacing do simulate the fact that pit wall on the left side here at Sonoma means that the left side tyres can be done first because the men in the pit box are already there when the car rolls in.
Yeah, and they are certainly able to get out a little bit quicker. I want to apologise for the little waver in my voice just before. I felt a sneeze coming on, and ultimately I did not sneeze, which is the most annoying thing in the world. I'm sure you'll agree, Dan. But now we come into the end of this warm-up session in between the races. We'll be able to go through the grid for race 2. Damon Mulqueen setting the top time in the warm-up session. It looks like he might be a bit stronger on a hot track, rather. So, starting in first place is going to be Lindsay Hobbs. Of course, the race control car, being a car in the session, is technically on the grid with the field, but they will not be making their way onto the starting grid. So it's Shane Best in P2, with John Courtney in 3rd, Anthony Green 4th, and Robbie Bradbury in 5th place. 6th is going to be Liam Hall, 7th Taylor Oakes, Benjamin Faulkner in 8th, Brady Baldwin 9th, and Daniel Cheney will round out the top 10.
He will indeed, which means that Chris Coxhead starts out of 11th for this one, and then it will be Lachlan Capel and Damon Mulqueen there out of 12th and 13th. Thomas Hinz out of 14th, Simon Mazzomo alongside him for 15th, and then 16th to Hayden Sell, 17th to Cameron Dance, and then your race winner, Matthew Bowler, will start 18th and plumb last for that one here. And just in time, we call that one there, Reese, because here come the Rebs for our main event in the Flat Sixes. We get the race underway right now as the field gets underway, and a couple of slow starts at the front. Lots of velocity. Shane Best is spun. He's going to take Bradbury with him.
Oh, that's
there we go.
huge smash.
Capel, multiple drivers involved. Oh dear me, that is caught. Oh, both the 9.5 cars of Manzomo and Sell tripped up in that, and wow-wee, how about that for one driver making a mistake, and Bowler losing it there at the top of turn 2. He's got damage to the rear of his car, despite, I thought, making it through unscathed, but he's a little roughed up, and his car is loose. That is not right. Multiple meatball flags. Capel, Mulqueen, Best, Bradbury, Coxhead, and Green are all going to have to come down the lane early here. Damages, oh dear, contact between Matt Bowler trying to go around the outside of the stricken Capel, who's just trying to get the car back to the pits as wow. That has to be one of the more dramatic starts to a race here, as yes, it has taken a lot of people with him, all off the back of some big skids from the 122 machine we have here on screen there.
Yeah, wow, looks like half the field at least were involved in that smash coming off the start-finish line, and that has really shaken up the order. Lindsay Hobbs is the one leading. Taylor Oakes here is defending second from Benjamin Faulkner in the 042 machine. Cheney in 4th, and Liam Hall rounding out the top 5. Cameron Dance managed to avoid the carnage and sits in 6th place, befitting his car number. And once again, that is good for him in terms of the championship lead, because Thomas Hinz is sitting behind him in 7th. Coming into the pits then, Chris Coxhead, Robbie Bradbury, Anthony Green, and Damon Mulqueen all in the lane at the moment. And man, I gotta say, there'll be a few heavily stricken cars out there, and no fast repairs, so these guys are probably going to have to spend some time getting some damage repaired in the lane. There goes Dance up the inside of Liam Hall to take 5th place, and he'll be certainly on a charge here. Might be in contention to win this one.
I think he might be indeed. He's the best place to the cars who are up the front of race number 1. So let's have a look here on the replay, and yeah, big wobble for Best, and then sideways into it's, oh goodness me, I can't even keep track of it. Definitely Bradbury. And, no, Bowler is further on back and sneaks on through. Oh, it's with death. Shane Best has killed Cameron Dance.
Oh no!
Best is, oh my word.
Okay.
Best is gone pinballing. We need to get back to live pitches at the end of, oh my lord.
Yeah, okay,
End
I've just seen
2.
it myself. That is insane. Shane Best was pretty much at a standstill on the racetrack. He was going incredibly slow.
Safety car deployed by race control.
Yeah, okay, so here's the view on board. So you'll see Best creeping along, trying to get back to the lane, but unfortunately, this view from Cameron Dance means that he cannot avoid Best in the middle of the racetrack. I think a series of unfortunate timings there, at the very least. It's put Best into the catch fencing. But yeah, it looks like Best's engine might have gone pop, and then the field trying to make their way through. I mean, what do you do in that situation if you're Shane Best? I think he could have afforded to be a little more to the left of the track to make his way into the pits. I'm not too sure.
Yeah, I mean, hard left would have blocked the pit entry, but that's where he needs to be to get the car into the pits. Hard right puts you in a position where you're going to need to have to tow, but therefore you do that, and well, you sort that out as well. He's yeah, I mean, it's the kind of situation where you make a call and someone might just gear in the wrong spot at the end of the day all the same. Like, you can never be sure if you're in the right place. And, well, that's now decimated the field even more. And 4 cars still with mechanical black flags to be served. In all of this, it looks like, yes, John Courtney has stayed out on the track in the 65 machine, and I believe is going to pick up the race lead here. But the first driver to complete their pit service is, once again, Matthew Bowler. He has proceeded through to the net lead of this race. He's followed by Taylor Oakes and Daniel Cheney. Then Lindsay Hobbs is up into net 4th. Liam Hall is going to be out behind them next, and Thomas Hinz is heavily damaged, but no mechanical black flag. He is now going to get back some of those championship points that you were talking about being what he so sorely needed in this race. The 9.5, well, Hayden Sellers and Sonoma back out after being caught on lap 1 there. They're separated by Brady Baldwin in the number 7, and then everyone else is still in the pit lane. Ben Faulkner, Cam Dance, Anthony Green, Lachlan Capel, and then Robbie Bradbury, Coxhead, Mulqueen, and Shane Best left the server already. We are down to 10 in this race on the lead lap out of 18.
This has turned into quite a dramatic race. We're only 4 laps in. Safety car came out, and wow, the 2 really heavy incidents. I don't really know what to say. This has certainly been one to remember so far. This could be championship defining. We'll have to wait and see. Cameron Dance still in the pits. Remember, he's the championship leader. He's been in there for nigh on 2 minutes now. Of course, Thomas Hinz up in 7th. Dance is classified 12th on my timing screen. But he and everyone behind him will surely go a lap down, and it looks like incredibly heavy damage on that car. I mean, you know, you go at pretty much full chat into a car that's nearly at a standstill, and that's going to result in some very heavy damage to your front end. At the very least, your front suspension is going to be ruined.
Yeah, it is. And oh boy, I mean, yeah, just also looking back at the race starts, Anthony Green was the other car at the very start of it all with Shane Best, actually one of Shane's teammates who got caught up in it. And strangely enough, I'm just looking back at it, Shane's car engine does not sound blown when I'm on board with it.
Right.
Following him down at the bottom of the S's. It's extremely, the car is so severely damaged that he's stuck doing no more than 80 kilometers per hour, but it's one of the things where, I mean, yeah, look, it was the worst possible place you could be. I mean, and he's off the racing line, but then he's meandering towards the line, and the field splits, and kaboom.
Yeah.
He gets turned into the next version of, I can't even describe it. The catch fence does its job, thankfully. A rip.
I guess you're just hearing that song Shooting Stars in your mind when he gets shot up into the air. Well, either way, it looks like we're going to be going back to green flag action here. Pace car has pulled away from the field and is coming into the lane. So John Courtney, only car in the field yet to visit the pits. And he's going to have a whole gaggle of machines up behind him. Matthew Bowler in the Visceral machine. Taylor Oakes and Daniel Cheney, the 2 surviving Orbit Motorsport cars, formerly Texans Fitstyle Motorsport, and away we go. John Courtney decides to get on the power just before the final hairpin, and we'll see how this race goes then. Back to green flag action as we begin at lap 6 of 25. Top 2 have already broken away from the rest of the field. There is the line, and Matthew Bowler is going to be stuck behind John Courtney for some time yet, I would think, because it's very difficult to make a pass in this area of the circuit. Potential there for an over-under, but it doesn't look like he'll have the space to get it done. So now pressure's on for Courtney. He'll know that he's off strategy to everybody else, and he's going to have to come into the pits at some point. Bowler shows him the nose at turn 5. Catches the inside curb, but manages to get the move done. Courtney gave him a good amount of room there. Good racing between those 2 drivers. Thomas Hinz, meanwhile, diving up the inside of Liam Hall. Last time we were racing, it was Cameron Dance who was up the inside of Liam. And it looks like Hall has decided to let Sell and Baldwin go as well. Don't know how much damage he's carrying, as he's had to give a bit of room to Simon Mazzomo. They're almost side by side on the way into the flat-out sweeper. You see Mazzomo is still carrying a hefty amount of damage from that initial incident. Thomas Hinz is carrying some damage to the rear, but he has just gone up the inside of Lindsay Hobbs. Goodness gracious me. And Hobbs loses another position to Hayden Sell. It looks like Hinz and Sell, they are working their way through this pack trying to catch up to Bowler.
No, they will, because we do have a spread of drivers in this field tonight, and the spread of drivers is completely shuffled up in the order we would not expect as a result of the safety car having to compress this field and get everything reset and going again. Simon Zomo just wants on through these guys. He gets through on Liam Hall eventually at one point, but he's not through yet on Baldwin or Hobbs, and well, every bit will take longer as Thomas Hinz has been working over Daniel Cheney on this lap, and he's almost forced the Orbit Motorsport car wide, turn 5. Doesn't quite get the job done though. The man who goes deep, spin! Baldwin and Hinz come together there in turn 6, and it gets Hobbs as Hinz has got the throttle down, trying to spin that car around. Oh, more cars in trouble as a result of it all. And Hinz and Hobbs both pick up mechanical black flags as a result.
That's ruined the night of Thomas Hinz. Well, everything started when Hinz tried to get up the inside of Cheney, had to back out of it, and you'll watch Brady Baldwin behind these guys. I think he might have just missed the braking point, overshoots, and goes right into Hinz as they get to the corner apex. And of course, Lindsay Hobbs had nowhere to go. He'd already committed to the exit himself and might have had visibility issues. So Thomas Hinz gets a double tap there.
Yeah. On board with Baldwin from his perspective. So up the inside on Hayden Sell. It's late on the brakes and into the right rear corner, and ducks to the inside to then hold and redress. But well, in the meantime, Hinz was trying to get going again, and that's down on turn 5. Was that a bit of a helping hand from his teammate Mazzomo, if unintentional, there on the exit of the corner?
No idea. I mean, this race is just so chaotic. It looks like Mazzomo got crossed up over the exit curb of turn 5. It looks like Sell might have just given him a little tap, but Mazzomo had well and truly lost it by that point. He was trying to find his way past Cheney.
Sell's ahead of Cheney there. Oh, Sell loses it all by himself.
Sell. My apologies.
Yeah, Sell by himself trying to get the move done on Cheney, just gets lost, and he's still parked, waiting for a tow permission to decide that no longer worth committing to the race. And safety car called once again to bring the field back under control. After a great first race here tonight, we suddenly now go to 2 caution periods in this second race. We shouldn't go time certain, but well, with the way that second intervention here from the manual safety car might just do that here. It will give John Courtney a chance to get his compulsory stop done and not lose as much time as he would. Maybe drive. I wonder here though, will drivers opt to take more damage repair for those who have it, or will they just maintain their track position, which we've seen be so important so far tonight?
Yeah, that's the big dilemma when you're racing at Sonoma. This is a circuit that favours track position over just about everything else. All things being the same. Cameron Dance has made it back out onto the circuit, but he's still carrying some really heavy damage. He's up into 13th now as he passed Anthony J. Green, who is still in the pits. Bradbury and Capel still carrying some damage from earlier incidents. I'll tell you what, the driver who has really come out on top here is Matthew Bowler, as John Courtney has made his way into the pit lane now. Bowler managing to get away with avoiding the initial pile-up coming off the starting grid and getting his stop out of the way under the first safety car. Now he has got the lead and a pretty good gap back to his main championship rivals, who have been massively disadvantaged in this second race.
Yeah, he is. I think, unfortunately, well, Bowler certainly would have had the pace to be a championship contender, but a latecomer to the season, meaning that he won't have a chance to fight for the championship. That's just how important it is to be racing in every single race and scoring points in every single race you can. Is Daniel Cheney's car one of the only cars in the top 10, or just any car remaining in the race, that actually looks completely undamaged?
Yeah.
Actually, I'd say make that both of the Orbit Motorsport cars. They both look still pristine. Liam Hall, the third. Okay, no, Liam Hall and Ben Faulkner, 2. Though they are the 4 cars left in this race that look pristine.
And that's incredibly lucky to see. The fact that those drivers have been able to stay out of the way of the major incidents here and get away with it with just about no damage to repair. I mean, what can you really say? It's the luck of the draw when a big incident happens at a track like Sonoma, which is incredibly narrow when it comes to runoff areas and walls and the like. In many places, it's a lot like a street circuit, particularly down here in the start-finish area. I mean, the drivers don't have any runoff to work with at the final hairpin. They have no runoff to work with here in the start-finish area either. So I think some good heads-up driving combined with a little tap on the shoulder from Lady Luck.
Yes, unfortunately, speaking of luck, or actually maybe lack of it, I've just watched John Courtney on an outlap from the pit lane, a very lengthy stop for him as well. 1 minute stationary in the pits. He actually trying to catch the field. Unfortunately, looped it over the curb at turn 5 in front of... So he's now back out on track and looking to rejoin the field, but done a bit of a scorch to the tyres there on his outlap, as we're told by race control that they will get the racing resumed at the end here of this one. So we'll be almost at the halfway mark. And, see what can be done from here. And there are only 8 cars in this one on the lead lap. Thomas Hinz ahead of Cam Dance, but 1 lap down on everyone for Hinz and 2 laps down for Dance means that they are not moving forward, barring any kind of... Well, it's going to take serious chaos for the drivers still in this race to befall them here.
All right, well, the field is compressed now behind the safety car, and race control has pulled away, and we'll be getting back to green flag action momentarily. Matthew Bowler has control of the field, and he's maintaining 80 kilometers an hour, and it's up to him when he decides to go. Now, John Courtney went early on the way into the hairpin. Is Bowler going to do the same, or will he wait until the apex of the final corner to get things started? Either way, he is likely to pull away from the rest of the field for the time being, considering the pace that he has shown tonight. We'll be waiting. There he goes. Throttle down for Matthew Bowler, and to begin the 12th lap of this race, away we go.
Up the hill into turns 1 and 2. So your top 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 are in order. And then John Courtney is a ways off down, actually in behind lap cars of Dance, Capel, Bradbury and Hinz. As we're seeing the onboard here for the last position in the train. Brady Baldwin trying to get through on Ben Faulkner. And he's trying to go again, this time inside at turn 6. We saw that cause a bit of misery earlier on. And a bit of a tap on the exit there. Netcode giving a helping hand, and Baldwin has to slot in behind Hinz, who decides to take some track position for the time being. But Baldwin wants on through, and Hinz is actually going to roll back out of that one and allow him to focus on the lead lap fight with the cars ahead. Quick look at that one, I believe, on the replay. No, actually further up the road between Mazzomo and Taylor Oakes. Or is this? This would be...
Yeah, that was a pass for second. So Mazzomo's made his way up into the top 2 now, and
right then,
up behind Bowler. So let's see what the lap time is then. Mazzomo's only run 1/100 of a second slower than Matthew Bowler on that lap. So who knows, if Mazomo can keep up a good run of pace, he might be in contention for the win here, despite the damage that he is still carrying to that machine. Either way, we've still got some intrigue left in this race, particularly for the battle for third. Stretches all the way back to 7th. Oakes, Cheney, Hall, Faulkner and Baldwin all there in the background of shot. But doesn't look like any big moves being made for the time being. Looks like Baldwin has decided not to get on the anchors late for that hairpin turn.
No, he has not, but he's just reeling in this group once again, so I think that shows he's got a bit of pace left in that car still tonight. But yeah, well, indeed, it's certainly the timing tower there tells the tale, and it really tells a really bad tale at that. But as you see here, Liam Hall making a move on Cheney in the 444 there for 4th place, down at the hairpin. But the wider line on exit for Cheney is going to allow him to maintain the spot, get the power down early, and swing across to cover the inside at the top of the hill for turn 2 as they start lap number 14 in this race. And Hall tries to get up the inside, but that puts him way out in the marbles coming up the hill. He covers the apex, but it just serves to put Faulkner on his tail and bring Baldwin to the back of the train once again. But here we go. These guys starting to put the elbows out here straight off of the restart now. And, well, no hold barred may be the course to come here in the next couple of corners. What does Baldwin do? He's close to Faulkner this time. Turn 6, but no, it's covered off enough that he's going to go wide and try and straight line the exit. Although he's up on the apex curb a bit too much there. Reese gets a bit wobbly and lays down some rubber in 11's fashion there.
That he does. Well, that's put paid to his charge for the time being. Seems to me that Bowler has started to get on the pace pretty well once again too. 1 minute 12.9, fastest lap of the race so far on the previous lap. Let's see what they're like on this one. Mazomo still very close on the last lap. Let's see what the pace difference is like between them this time. Actually, Mazomo looks to be about 400 slower. I'm impressed that he's actually able to keep pace with Bowler, considering the damage that he sustained.
This says a lot about potentially some of the damage that Bowler's also picked. In fact, actually, it's not here in the SCOPS Discord, but where did I see it? There was some conversation about some damage to Bowler's car, potentially 3 minutes optionals on lap 1.
Oh, yes.
Thanks to the additional damage that he received. Actually, he dodged damage in on lap 1, but then thanks to when Capel was trying to bring the car back on lap 1, contact of turn 5 over the exit curb there, apparently picking up quite a lot of optionals there. And while optionals obviously therefore mean that they're not going to be a complete detriment from the racing, they will still affect the performance of the car. So that would explain why, certainly credit to Mazomo for keeping pace, but also would explain why Bowler, after his performance in race 1, is not pulling away so easily here. As this time at turn 11, Liam Hall up the inside, and Daniel Cheney does not have a response. So job finally done for the number 49 up into P4 there, Reese. Next target is Cheney's teammate of Taylor Oakes, who hangs on to that 3rd place spot. You're going to get a chance to look at the pass there on replay thanks to Virtual Racing School.
Yep, so on board with Daniel Cheney, and Hall dives up the inside at the hairpin, and that was a very well executed move there from Hall, nice and assertive, and Cheney looked at his mirrors and saw him coming and managed to leave him room in that final corner. So once again, a good show of clean racing in what has turned out to be quite a carnage-filled second race here in the V8SCOPS Flat Sixes. If you're just joining us here at the end of the night, thank you very much for jumping in. This has certainly been an interesting sequence of events. I think the break for the Jettas really reset how a couple of the drivers were approaching these races. There goes Baldwin, meanwhile, up the inside of Faulkner. Oh no! Turns around Daniel Cheney as well. Oh dear. I think Brady Baldwin has been a bit optimistic with some of his moves in this second race.
Yeah, locked to the inside front on the way in. Almost had it pulled up, but Cheney's slower and trying to square the corner up ahead. he's not thinking about what Baldwin behind might be doing there. And, well, by the time Baldwin pulls it up, Cheney's car is almost 45 degrees to him there and comes across. And it's not much, but car is unloaded at that point, and he parks it up and waits. But, well, that's just salt in the wound for a couple of these guys here after being wounded early on, or in the case of guys like Cheney having picked their way through it all and been in the prime positions. They now drop to 5th and 6th. Oh, pardon me, 6th and 7th on the road, apologies, but they still stay well and truly on the lead lap. In fact, the other car was still on the lead lap. John Courtney in 8th place has been unable to actually take advantage of their mistake due to where he's been in the lap traffic and the pace he's currently got in his car, as it now makes for a two-way fight for 3rd, and Ben Faulkner kind of in a bit of a bubble there, needs to find another half second or so to a second to make it a 3-way fight there for that final podium step.
And you'll see just popping into the background there for Faulkner is Thomas Hens, who once again is a lap down and was involved pretty heavily in some damage earlier, but he's certainly gotten his pace back. Faulkner setting a 14.7 on the last lap. It's a 14.019 for Thomas Hens, so certainly got his pace back, and it's a case of what might have been, I think, for Hinsey if he'd been able to avoid the incidents that he'd been involved in, or through no fault of his own, obviously. We might have been seeing a very different race here, but either way, this is going to be a good opportunity for some drivers to nab some big hauls of championship points. Checking back in with the leaders briefly, looks like Bowler has really turned up the pace. He's now leads by 2.8 seconds from Simon Mazzomo. And it looks like Mazzomo has not quite been able to keep up the pace consistently lap to lap. Just lost 4/10 to Bowler on that previous lap there. And Taylor Oakes still holding off Liam Hall and Benjamin Faulkner. There is Brady Baldwin, who is currently in danger of
Faulkner
incident limit.
Oh, we're going to have a look at it here real quick on replay. Pass between Cheney and Baldwin, down the S's here. So this time by, he's close enough to be able to make a nice and clean pass, and yeah, that's how you get it done here. Cheney this time decides to give Brady about 6 miles of space, deciding to not risk it here. And this is what I just caught as we were switching to the replay. Watch Ben Faulkner here up the hill through turn 1, misses the line. Thankfully, finds the pocket of road that he was sitting in previously there, but he now drops out of the fight for P5, and he's actually, for P3, but he actually now sits directly in front of Brady Baldwin. So it's now a 3-way fight for 5th. 2 cars still in it for 3rd here, Reese.
Indeed, and it is on here between Faulkner and Baldwin. Brady having a little bit of a look up the inside of the penultimate corner. These guys are now fighting for 5th place, and Baldwin having to take the outside line. Faulkner going defensive on the way into the hairpin. How long can Benjamin Faulkner keep Brady Baldwin back? He will definitely have learned from the mistake he made at this point last lap. Sticking nice and easy to the inside, slowing down a bit earlier, and being able to turn in for turn 2 as we saw his tyre tracks through the gravel from that previous incident. Baldwin is, he's trying his best, isn't he? He's certainly been aggressive in this race, you can definitely say that, and have a look at that. Nice exit from the S's, manages to get it done into turn 5. Will Faulkner be able to fight back here? The door is opened. Baldwin actually makes contact with the wall on the way into the corner, but manages to widen out the exit and consolidate that place. So Brady Baldwin now up to 5th, but as I just mentioned, he is in danger of exceeding the incident limit. There is a 20 incident limit in V8SCOPS for 2022, and last time we heard, Baldwin was on 14 incidents, and he still is. Cameron Dance is also on 14 incidents as well. So 5 laps to go, a track that's very easy to get off tracks and contacts on. So they're going to have to wind it back a little, I think, just for these final 5 laps.
Yeah, it will be a matter of conservation for those who are at or near the limit, especially since, well, 4x contact will unsettle things quite dramatically. And it's clear to see here that Baldwin has the pace of these guys in that group for P5, so I don't think he'll be too contested by the others behind. It's going to be mistakes that change the game here. We're still looking at the fight for P3 between Taylor Oakes and Liam Hall, and then meanwhile, we've got Thomas Hinz and Lachlan Capel. They are in line with each other on track, but they are separated by an entire lap, unfortunately. So it would take Capel here getting past Hinz and then being given a wave around under a very unexpectedly late safety car to change the order for those two drivers. So they better hopefully will hold station here to the end, as that'll give Liam Hall and Taylor Oakes a chance to fight for this final podium position in the best way they can. But little mistakes like that, Liam, are not going to help with keeping the pressure on for that place. Meanwhile, back here for P5, it's not that far down the road, only 7 seconds from P4 to P5 race, but looks like Ben Faulkner able to keep within 6/10 or so, which means that the pressure is somewhat still there at this stage, which didn't look like it when the pass was initially made by Baldwin last time around.
Well, Baldwin crucially has a good gap of Faulkner, and you see Benjamin there going a little bit deep into the right-hander across the top of the hill. A little bit of a compromise to the exit from that one. And looking at their times, well, Faulkner was faster than Baldwin on the last lap, but I think maybe that little mistake he made might put paid to the battle for the time being. He'll have to rely on a mistake from Baldwin to put himself back in the game. So there's basically two battles going on track at the moment. One up ahead between Taylor Oakes and Liam Hall. We check it out now. Of course, you mentioned Thomas Hinz and Lachlan Capel. Capel is a further lap down than Thomas Hinz is, so they are not racing for position behind the fight for third. And Baldwin, Faulkner and Cheney separated by about 1.4 seconds.
Well, talk about pain for your championship leader. Cameron Dance just picked up a second mechanical black flag in this race.
Oh, no.
And most cruelly, after all the carnage that has consumed him in this race, it was entirely self-inflicted at the top of the S's on his 20th lap in this race. Car has snapped coming down through turn 7 towards turn 8, and unfortunately the number 6 machine fired itself into the tyres. He might try and stick it out here, and he might just get away with it because he does have 3 times past the pit lane, but actually I think that means he'll be 1 short of being able to complete this race, so he will have to send that back into the pits. And being 2 laps down, he will lose at least 2 spots to go into 13th at the end of this one to serve that flag, unfortunately for him. Well, fight continues for 3rd place here, Reese, but to be honest, it almost looks like the two behind them in Hinz and Capel certainly looking racy here despite the damage they both have, but having to keep themselves constrained and just focus on clean and smooth here to allow the guys on the lead lap to duke it out to the end with 2 laps to go for this leading group. And Cameron Dance is staying out here, so maybe going to maybe flip the coin and gamble on it, but I'm a bit concerned that will mean for him that he will receive a black and white flag or disqualification from iRacing if he doesn't come down the lane in the next lap or so.
Yeah, that's a very genuine fear that I have as well. Well, we'll keep an eye here on the battle for 3rd, Oakes versus Hall, and comparing times between them, Oakes a little bit faster on the last lap by about 2.5 tenths. So Hall is going to have to rely on a mistake here, or potentially psyching him out with a look up the inside into the hairpin. Doesn't look like he'll be able to get it done that time. It would have been quite optimistic if he'd managed to draw alongside on the way in. He probably would have just gone straight on, but oh dear. A couple of technical issues for Liam Hall right at the end of the race is not going to fill him with confidence. They are on the final lap now. Matthew Bowler leads by nearly 6 seconds. There is Daniel Cheney chasing down Benjamin Faulkner, and Faulkner has continued to keep Brady Baldwin honest with another 2/10 taken out of him on the previous lap, but just hasn't been able to get close to him. So last couple of corners now for Matthew Bowler, and he's got a little bit of traffic ahead of him. It's Anthony Green down in 13th place, the second last car running on the circuit. But Matthew Bowler, I think, will be very satisfied with how things have gone for him tonight. It looked like it'd all go wrong for him here in race 2, but he is going to come away with a double victory and the round win here in the flat sixes. Part of the Logitech G V8SCOPS Support Series for 2022, and Simon Mazzomo should be well chuffed with a second place finish despite the damage that he obtained. Looks like Oaks is going to hold off Hall for third, and getting at least one Orbit car onto the podium here, certainly a result that team's going to be happy with.
And top 5 will be taken by Brady Baldwin, able to break clear of Ben Faulkner. And that one, Daniel Cheney, will have to settle for 7th on track at least. And then your last car here on the lead lap, John Courtney for 8th place. Now, here's Cameron Dance. Still hasn't served that mechanical black flag. Hasn't been converted to a disqualification. I presume that means he comes across and he'll get to take the checker here. Yes. And yes, he will. So he's just picked that up at the latest possible moment to get away with that one here. And yeah, well, I think Bowler, possibly luckiest man of the night of the guys who were at the front and had the pace for it tonight, Reese. Does pick up damage in the second race, but able to shrug it off and take the win by 6.7 seconds over Simon Mazzomo, who was able to nurse that car home quite nicely. And as you said, they're not able to go with Bowler all the way, but a good start and good initial pace there, but had to manage that car home to the end. Taylor Oaks holding off Liam Hall for 3rd and 4th respectively, and then Brady Baldwin ahead of Ben Faulkner, who's actually drops off a bit there in the final lap comparatively to Daniel Cheney, then behind in 7th, and John Courtney, our last car there in 8th on the lead lap. And then it was Thomas Hinds there, 1 lap down in 9th, and Lachlan Capel, the first of the drivers, 2 laps down there in 10th place. And then, well, yeah, have a look at that there, Reese. 11th place for Cam Dance, also 2 laps down, and then we go 3 laps down for Robbie Bradbury, 4 laps down for Anthony Green, 9 laps for Lindsay Hobbs, who will be the last driver. Actually, no, it'll be Green who'll be the last driver to get points for that finish there. Lindsay Hobbs won't get enough laps on the board to score points in that race there. Norval, Hayden Sell, Shane Best, Chris Coxhead, and Damon Mulqueen. You can see 3 drivers all retiring before they even got a lap on the board there tonight.
Oh dear! Wow, that was that'll certainly have potential implications for the championship. Certainly, I think a few drivers might be using this as a drop round, but regardless, I think it's going to be a round to forget for a lot of drivers. They'll be very happy to see Donington Park here. 2-litre Tourers and Jetta Cup are going to be racing at the next round of the V8SCOPS Support Series. That's going to be on July the 22nd at 7:45 p.m. Australian Eastern. And it'll be a front-wheel drive fest at one of the world's premier touring car circuits there in the UK. I'm looking forward to that one, Dan, but unfortunately I won't be in the comms box with you again. I'll be racing all night there.
Yes, you're a little bit preoccupied, so, well, we'll see if we can get someone else to fill your place for the evening. Before we wrap up, a chance to talk to a couple of our podium getters, and, well, I think who else but the man who swept all the races tonight, Matthew Bowler in the number 12 machine. Well, Matt, qualifying pace certainly contested there at the front of the field, but then an absolutely straight out of the gate there in the first race, absolutely nailing the start. Meant race 1 was a very orderly affair for you in the end, but I noticed you mentioned in one of the chats that you were a little short on fuel in race 1. hence why you weren't able to keep pushing to make that a comfy margin into that race. Sort of talk us through that first one there for you tonight.
Yeah, well, hey Dan and commentary team. Yeah, basically I was very limited on practice for this race, so didn't really think I'd have much pace compared to the other guys. Obviously I got a bit lucky with everything that went on in race 2. Yeah, qualifying didn't go too well. Cam and Hayden had some pretty good pace, and to be honest I thought Hayden would just fly away from the field tonight, but yeah, got a semi-optimal start. Wasn't that great. The initial launch was good, but yeah, bogged down a fair bit, but must have been better than the other two. And then yeah, it was just up to basically holding them off. Obviously I knew Hayden was quicker. And then yeah, I realised I had 1 litre less fuel than I needed, which didn't help. So yeah, tried to back Hayden up as much as I could and get Cam in on the action. But yeah, luckily we were able to hold on. And then yeah, race 2 just missed all the carnage, but ended up I think getting in a bit of a collision with Lockie by accident, which gave me a bit of damage, a bit of wing damage towards the start of the race. But yeah, we were able to hold off Mez, which was good, and yeah, come away with 2 wins, so can't complain with that.
Yeah, I mean, it's I guess yeah, that second race. I was going to get to that in a second, to sort of get you to talk us through that there. Starting at the back of the field for this series, with the way we do these inverting grids for these second races here in this series. When that kind of incident happens in front of you off the start, how much time does it feel like you had there to respond from the driver's seat to the track suddenly becoming pretty much blocked in front of you there?
Well, I mean, it was a lot better starting from the back. I was able to see it all happen. But yeah, there was cars spearing off everywhere. Everyone went to the right, so I just veered off to the right as well. But yeah, there's a massive gap in the middle of the track, so I sort of just turned a bit left and drove straight through it all. So that was good, and then I completely forgot about turn 1 and went straight off. Was able to keep it on the track and avoid any damage, but lost a few spots there. But after the second safety car, couldn't help but notice I was in second place and had hardly done any passing. So yeah, I was a bit startled by that, but yeah, it was just a clear path after that. Just had to hold off Mez.
Indeed it was. Well, I mean, yeah, everyone else, everyone came down to the pits as a result of that first safety car for the most part. What was sort of the plan that you had going in for the tyres in that second race originally? Now we're here at the end. What can you tell us about any plans you might have done strategy-wise? Had it all sort of gone a bit more normally tonight?
Yeah, well, since we're starting from the back, it would have really depended on how many cars are passed at the start. I thought maybe it would be mid-pack by 3 or 4 laps in, but that obviously wasn't the case. But yeah, it would have been to pit in as early as possible, give ourselves the most clear air that we could possibly have, just to put in some good laps and pop out in front of everyone after their pit stops. But yeah, once the second crash happened and someone went flying up into the air, I just ducked into the pits just to make sure I wasn't going to be collected. So I took the left side, front and rear, and yeah, just went off that really. Didn't have to add any fuel in, so it was just tyres and go. But obviously just had to manage those tyres for the whole race. Obviously pitting straight away, it just meant we had to look after them, but I mean, we had to do that in the first race anyway, so yeah, the car was good. Besides the bit of damage we had, it slowed us down a fair bit, but we were just able to hold on and keep it clean.
Well, before we let you go, the series, we'll see the Flat Sixes return when the series heads to Phillip Island. It'll be a double header, which means we see the all 3 of the main categories return there as part of the first round also of the SCOPS Endurance campaign, starting on Friday, August the 5th. For the supports there. Any thoughts about that combination here for the Flat Sixes and sort of what you might think of your pace around there when that comes around?
When you said Phillip Island, lifted my head to the roof. I've never been good around there, but yeah, it should be good fun. I don't think I've actually driven this car around there in general, so yeah, it should be good fun. Everyone loves a home race, so yeah, I reckon it will look good and everyone will put on a show for the fans.
Oh, we hope so. I mean, we had a show tonight, but I guess it wasn't quite the show, perhaps, that we were hoping for. In that case, before we let you go, who do you want to thank tonight for the results?
Yeah, obviously just want to thank obviously all you guys at SimSpeed and commentators, and obviously V8SCOPS for putting on the supports. It's a great category for people who don't really race the V8s. Also like to thank the guys at Visceral Esports. I'm under trial with the new team at the moment, so everything's going well at the moment. The car looks good, and I'm getting better and better each day. Also just want to thank mum and dad, and also my good friend Millie as well. And yeah, that's about it really.
There, your race winner from Sonoma, Matthew Bowler. There, well done to him. We do have Simon, Zoe and Taylor Oaks. We'll see if we can quickly squeeze them in here, Reese, and I'll hand to you to chat to Simon.
Indeed. Well, Simon, certainly turned out pretty well for you in race 2, but all up, a really good night for you. 6th on the grid, 4th place in race 1, and then somehow getting through all of the chaos of race 2 to make a 2nd.
Yeah, if the way that first race, the way the race started for race 2, if you said I was going to be on the podium in the end, I would have called you a liar. That's just crazy how it changes. But yeah, it's just crazy stuff. Just you got a decent start, but yeah, all of a sudden there was just a massive jumble of cars in the front straight. So yeah, it is what it is. Lucky we got out the other side with not too much damage. The car actually felt really good. Surprising how much damage we got, but yeah, initially I thought I had enough pace to run with Bowler, but then I decided to give it a realignment, which was not a good idea. So yeah, is what it is. Still happy to come away with 2nd.
As you should be. This track has traditionally had a reputation for being an eater of tyres. How did it feel at the end of race 1 for you?
I lost probably not too bad, actually. I was sort of expecting a lot more tyre dig from testing. It seemed like we were really losing the tyres, especially the rears. I actually, in that first one, midway through the race, especially when Damon was starting to put a bit of pressure on me, definitely felt like the tyres were not there, but they gradually sort of came back as the race went on. So probably the last last 5 or 6 laps, the car felt really, really good. And just lucky that Hinsey got involved as well. It sort of let me jump away, and I just sort of had to hold the gap from there. But yeah, so surprisingly, held on really, really well.
Excellent. Well, it's another consistent night of points for you here in the flat 6s, and certainly it helps your championship as well. What are you thinking about Phillip Island coming up? What are your goals for that?
I only just realised we're going to Phillip Island. I think probably just going to be the same thing. Just try and score as much points as I can. I don't think I'm really going to be in contention to win the championship. Like, Hinsey's probably still got over me. Cam's definitely faster than me. Bowler's now racing now, so who knows how long till he sort of plays a factor in it. So at this point, if I could just hold on to a top 3 or a top 5 in the series, I'll be happy with that. So, but yeah, just keep plugging away, and wherever we end up, we end up.
Excellent. Well, before we let you go, Simon, anyone you'd like to thank for your podium in race 2?
Well, new team and new sponsors, so forgive me if I get this a bit messed up, but yeah, big thanks to Racecraft, Beyond Blue, Cutting Edge Tracks, RSW Graphics, and just a big thank you to everyone at 95 Sim Sports. They've been just amazing, really welcoming, and I'm just sort of really happy to be with them at the moment, and looking forward to doing more with them.
Excellent stuff. There's Simon Mazzomo there, 4th and 2nd tonight. Definitely rising above the chaos. As we go to our final driver interview of the night, Dan Yeaman stood by with Taylor Oaks, who completed the podium.
That's correct indeed. A quiet night at the start for you, Taylor, but all coming through at the in the feature race. Sort of a tale of 2 different stories for you. I guess, how does it sort of feel to sort of compare race 1 with race 2 here tonight? One of the few cars to be able to walk away there clean after the chaos of race 2.
Race 1 was a bit of a struggle, to be fair, with the amount of laps. It was the most amount of laps I've done in a night for about 2 weeks since coming down with the old spicy cough, and so struggled a bit through there. But the second race with those couple of safety cars, and then seeing the 3rd position and the 2nd position, I was like, I might try a little bit harder here.
Yeah, it's a good point to make there indeed. And I mean, yeah, I guess how important did you feel it was having a clean car underneath you there in race 2 to be able to push yourself when it comes to pace there throughout that 2nd race?
I wasn't actually aware of what happened behind until Cam and Jeannie sort of piped up on the radio going, "Oh, are we all good? Did we make it through?" But clean car definitely helped, and I just was trying to manage the tyres all the way through to the end of the race.
Well, next round in early August goes to Phillip Island. Any thoughts about the car track combination for you when we get there?
Well, I'll be a little bit more comfortable at Phillip Island, considering I have actually done a few races there and I've done a few laps there before tonight. So we're in a little bit more comfortable in that case, since it's the first time I've done this layout of the track tonight. So,
well, before we go, Taylor, who do you want to thank tonight for the result here in race 2?
Just a shout out to Cam and Cheney for the race tonight, and then Hybrid Tune, Demon Tweaks Motorsport, Fight Collateral Cancer, and Sim3D are the partners on the car.
There we go. Taylor Oakes, third place there in the second race for the flat sixes tonight. And well, that will do us for the evening. As I said, yeah, back-to-back rounds here for V8SCOPS. So we return with supports next Friday night at Donington Park. And as you said, all front-wheel drive affair with two Arturas taking the prime spot. And of course, the Jetta Cup returning for their, who is it now? It'll be 8th, if not 7th event there for them. So it's getting in towards the back end of the Jetta Cup calendar, I have to say, which means not long left for them. But two Arturas will be just getting into their stride next week. And well, still a very busy weekend up for us here, Reese. Majors Series, Austrian Grand Prix tomorrow night. And then SimSpeed has the iRacing Grand Prix Series Sunday morning. And then we'll be back for you guys on Sunday evening with, of course, the Too Easy Finance Sonoma Super Sprint, 2 different race lengths, or the main event, and of course, Super Split 2 to get things underway come Sunday evening.
Indeed, we hope you can join us for that on SimSpeed TV. Thanks very much, everybody, for watching. Make sure to chuck us a subscribe on YouTube. Also, follow us on Twitch, on Twitter as well, at SimSpeed TV. And we're SimSpeed Esports Network on Facebook as well. Give us a like on that platform as well to stay up to date with everything that's going on in our world. I'm Reese Gardner. It's Dan Yeaman alongside me. Jay Kennedy behind the scenes bringing you the live pictures. From all of us here at SimSpeed TV, we say thanks to Logitech G for their support of the V8SCOPS Support Series, and bye for now.
Fantastic. This is GT racing right now. He's got traction. He's going with the outside. Both of them. Maloney. Oh, he's taking Anderson. Anderson's up top. Oh my God. Big crash. Oh my goodness. Half the field's going to get rolled.
Six very close. These guys are want to make their way through the field very quickly. Oh, there we go. Oh no. That's massive. This is it. This is over. I can't believe this. Oh my God.
God, what?